Fast Break podcast today. And while you're there, please subscribe, like, share the podcast with your friends. If you've got any basketball fans out there, plus all of our other great episodes on the Lakers and the NBA, what's going on. I've also got one coming up, if you haven't heard it already, from Laker Tom that you got to check out. And then, of course, also as well, you go ahead and give us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. It would be truly appreciated and greatly thank you from all of us right here at the Lakers Fast Break. Well, we are down to our final 10, the final 10 prospects in each position for the NBA draft. And this time we're up to the point guards. So if you haven't heard already, we've already done the top 10 small forwards, power forwards, center, and shooting guards. And today we're doing point guards. And here with me again today is a great man indeed. You got to check out all the great stuff that he's doing today on YouTube, or on his YouTube channel, I should say, NBA Draft Junkies, and of course his awesome site, which breaks down everything going on in the NBA draft. And that is NBADraftJunkies.com. It is Rafael Barlow. And Rafael, always great to have you back, my friend.
I'm glad to be here. Now we're down to the final set of positions. So we may have to get a little creative in the next couple of episodes to talk about, since there's really not a lot going on.
Well, no, there's still a lot to talk about for me with you. So in future episodes, I want to hear about some of the journeys that you've had when you follow some of these players, because you've been all around the world. I think that's a fascinating journey, if you're allowed to go ahead and share some of those experiences. I know you have on Twitter already, especially when it comes to the Turkish League. I think you were talking about a couple of weeks ago on Twitter. But I know you've got some great memories, things that you've already shared on NBADraftJunkies.com about your time in Australia and so much more. So I'd love to hear your process. What's the G League like as far as the development? You've only given little tastes and little hints of that. I'd love to hear more about that coming up in future episodes, plus also what's going on with the draft being pushed back and all that. So there's a little bit more to talk about coming up with you in future episodes. But right now, my friend, it is the top 10 point guards in the NBA draft. Before we go into that, I want to hear your thoughts on your process on how you evaluate point guards. What is your point of emphasis on most? Shooting, or as far as distribution? Is it feel for the game? Is it the court vision? Defense? What are the things you focus most on when it concerns the point guard position?
Well, honestly, I feel like it just depends on the player. If shooting was my main focus, then I probably wouldn't have LaMelo so high on my list. I'd have somebody higher than him. I may have like Halliburton higher. Or if it's about defense, then I would have Trey Jones pretty high. So it just goes into watching the film, the eye test. What I like to do is I like to watch the film first, and I like to write down my notes on what I see. And then after I watch film, I go look into the stats and then the advanced stats to see if what I saw with my eyes matches what's on paper.
And that's something I wanted to know more about what you guys evaluate, especially yourself. I know in your brother as well. Some of his picks in our mock draft, which you can check out today on our YouTube channel, or also as well, you can check it out on the Lakers Fast Break podcast channel. Some of his picks I've been hearing from guys like Chad Ford about some of his picks getting up there. When you see a prospect, a point guard that you really like, that some others were maybe not as high on, but then you start hearing buzz and things of that nature on them, and they start to rise up the charts and everybody catches up to what you were thinking, how does that make you feel?
It's a catch-22. On one hand, you feel like, man, they caught on, because especially if they have a bigger platform. And then on the other hand, you have to be pleased simply because these guys are well respected and there's a reason why they have a bigger platform. And then it just makes you feel good considering that they're seeing the same things that I saw. So there's a little bit of happiness behind it. And then there's also like a little bit of confirmation, because you feel like, okay, I knew I wasn't too off base here. And one of the best examples for me was Killian Hayes. I had been high on him really early, and we'll get to where I have him, but there was another site, The Ringer, and they had him ranked very high.
Kevin O'Connor, he is really high. I think he put him as his number one choice overall.
Overall, yeah. And so that made me feel like, okay, that I knew I wasn't tripping. I knew I wasn't the only one that saw that. And I feel like if Hayes were, I mean, he is American. I think, he's born in Florida. But I think if he would have had an opportunity to play in college basketball this year, I think he'd be higher on a lot of boards also.
Doing the AAU thing, high school, and maybe a year of college here, that would probably suffice. And then, like you said, Killian Hayes is a name that is rising up the draft charts. I've heard him on Chad's Forge podcast mentioned now several times. John Hollinger, he's mentioned him on his podcast and also Chad Ford's podcast. So he is a name that is rising up the draft charts and is someone that's going to be pretty high up on our list. Yeah, so yeah. I know we've been delaying this a little bit, so I just wanted to stall for some time here to get people a little more anxious about what's coming up with your picks. So let's get down to it, my friend. I want to hear your number 10 choice for the point guard that fits 10th best right now on your chart for the point guards headed to the NBA draft.
For number 10, I'd have Trey Jones from Duke. I think that he's an excellent defender. He's a good game manager. He takes really good care of the ball. I think that he showed that he can score a little bit more this year. Off the top of my head, I believe he averaged about 16 points a game. And I think that he's a guy that should have a long NBA career. I don't know if he's a full-time starter or not, but I think he's a very dependable game manager that will come in and play very good defense.
Actually, with Stone Hansen in our mock draft, ironically, he chose him and drafted him in our first round of our mock draft for the Lakers. And as someone who I took a little bit more closely after he picked, I knew of him, and I've seen, obviously you can't miss anybody playing for Duke. You're going to go ahead and check them out at some point in time. But I checked into him a little bit more after Stone Hansen made that suggestion, and I kind of like that fit more and more each time I watch him on the videos.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Lakers, a lot of people feel like they need a point guard. I just think for him, if he were to play with the Lakers, shooting would have to be something that he'd improve on. He improved a lot from his sophomore year to his freshman year, but I just don't know if it would be consistent enough to be able to play a lot of minutes on the floor with LeBron.
And that's always the question. Can he play with LeBron? That's always the question for any player heading to the Lakers right now or any of LeBron's teams in the past. We've seen a lot of them not being able to do that. So if it's not going to be a right fit, he's not going to get any playing time, and that's going to be a problem right off the bat, and you wasted that first-round pick if the Lakers go ahead and still choose their pick coming up here in, when the NBA draft comes around. So that's an interesting choice at number 10. Like you said, someone that may not be a star in the league, but someone who can fill a role and fill it quite nicely. I noticed there's a lot of guards, and it's really a guard-heavy draft, in my opinion, this year. I'm noticing that more and more. Obviously, the NBA is trending that way, as we've talked about on previous episodes. Rest assured, even at number 10 on your list, he's still someone that can make a good contribution.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like I said, he'll have a long career. I mean, he does have something that you can count on every night. Actually, there's two things. You know that he's going to come in, he's going to play tough defense, and you also know that he's going to come in and take care of the ball. If he were more of a dynamic scorer, if he had a higher upside as a scorer, I think that he'd be rated higher. But I just think like he's just kind of put into a box, and maybe he didn't get a chance to show everything that he can do his first 2 years at Duke. But I feel like I said, you know what you're going to get from him, and you know what he brings to the table. So it's a safe pick, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a safe pick. It's someone that's not going to surprise you. It's just someone that's going to be rock steady, and I agree with you. More and more, he's looking like a dependable choice at whatever slot he's chosen at, as long as he's not chosen too high, but someone who will be a major contributor off the bench or as a role player for the next 7 to 10 years, I could see easily.
Mm-hmm.
So who do you have at number 9? Number 9 on our list of point guards headed to the NBA draft.
Number 9 is a guy that kind of slipped a little bit for me compared to where I had him before the season started. And it may not really be all his fault. He just dealt with some injuries, but it's Theo Melodon, the kid out of France. I like him as a passer, and as I think he has the length and the size to be able to defend multiple positions. He's another guy that is I think he'd be a very good game manager. Not sure if he has the aggressive mentality of a scorer to really, become like a top tier point guard, but I think that he's a guy that can be a contributor, and he plays winning basketball. He won, not this past season, well, it wasn't finished, but the year before he won with his team in France, and he was so young. I think he was maybe 17, and he played. So then he played EuroLeague this year. So he's had some experience in, competitive games. So he's a guy that I'm pretty high on. But again, he slips on my list just because I feel like injuries held him back. And then the EuroLeague, he found out the EuroLeague is a lot tougher than the Euro Cup.
And this is something that's going to be a lot tougher for him in the NBA. But he's young. And, with the Europeans, they like him the younger the better, so that they can go ahead and develop here more. Even if they didn't get a chance to go ahead and play at a college level here, depending on the league that they were in overseas, it seems like they can get that valuable experience here. It shouldn't be too hard to make up as long as they go ahead and get into the right team, into the right type of training and instruction.
Yeah, and I just think the biggest difference is in Europe, every game counts. And, they're in the EuroLeague to where, if you don't play well, your team can get removed from the EuroLeague. So every game counts, and there's really not an emphasis on developing young players. So for me, if I see a young player that's playing in the EuroLeague or the Euro Cup, I know that they are in a competitive environment. While sometimes in the NBA, you can say that a team knows they're not going to be good, and they'll play a guy for development purposes the whole season. And so I think that's even something that we may see if the season picks back up. There's some teams that are just going to say, hey, this season is lost. We're not going to make the playoffs. And they're going to play guys that may not have been playing all season. They're going to play them heavy minutes to see where they fit in next year. So in some cases, not all, you have a better opportunity of playing more minutes in the NBA than you would playing in the EuroLeague.
Well, there you have it at number 9. Theo Melodon, I know you've spoken highly of him before, and I know others have, but again, it could be a bit of a project, but the potential is there at number 9 on your list. We're signaling the ref for a quick timeout, but we'll be back with more of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Check out what's been going on with the Pop Culture Cosmos Show and the PCC Multiverse.
I see the potential for basically like another Netflix kind of paradigm shift where here comes this other major player. They have a ton of resources. Apple could change the way that entertainment is consumed.
They say it's the only time this year that you'll have stars from each brand battling each other, and we know it's not going to be the case, but they like to say that, and more power to them, I guess.
Well, it's a big first step, bringing all those superheroes together. There were definitely some parts of the movie that I really enjoyed, and then there were some parts that I thought just kind of fell short of expectation.
Part of it has to be something to do with how it's being promoted, and this is a thing where audiences do not agree with critics.
That's the Pop Culture Cosmos Show.
And the PCC Multiverse, every week on Apple Podcasts.
And over a dozen of your favorite streaming and podcasting options. All right, so who do you have at number 8? Number 8 on the list of point guards headed to the NBA draft.
For number 8, I may have him higher than others, but I have Devon Dotson from Kansas. I have him at number 8 on my list. What I like about him is his speed. I feel like with the open NBA, with the spacing and the open floor, he has the speed that is always going to be able to come in and put pressure on defenses. And so I think that his speed is going to be a major, major asset in the NBA. I think he's a really good finisher also. He may not be a guy that I consider a 8 to 10 year starter, but I think that he's a guy that's going to be a high rotation guy and just kind of wreak havoc with his speed. I would kind of compare him to maybe like a Ramon Sessions. Sessions played. He had a pretty lengthy career. I know. I remember when he got I forgot. I guess it was a trade the Lakers had, and it was a really, really big deal. But he didn't play as well as people expected him to.
Yeah, he was thought to be a replacement. I think, I don't know if it was for Magic, but he was thought to be a next big thing as far as potential is concerned. And you're right, it just didn't quite work out.
Yeah, I think he put up like really, really big numbers in like assist numbers and some scoring numbers. I'm guessing maybe Milwaukee or Cleveland. It was a team that he put up pretty big numbers, but the team wasn't really good. But when he got to LA, it was a little bit more pressure to perform. And I remember the fans being a little disappointed. But overall, he still had a long career, and he couldn't really shoot. But one of the things that he did well was he got to the basket, and he put pressure on defenses. And then once the help came, he was able to make good decisions.
Well, there you go. And that's something that you always want out of a point guard, is to be able to have that decision-making and for those decision-making skills to be at a level that's going to effectively run your team. So that's number 8 for you. Who do you have at lucky number 7 for the top 10 point guards in the NBA draft?
Number 7 is also a player that kind of slipped for me, but it's a heavy point guard draft. So, in my opinion, for my top 7 guys, if you ask another person, their top 7 could all be scrambled up and could look totally different. So for me, I have Nico Mannion. I know he was projected as a lottery pick in some cases coming into the season. I don't think he had a bad year. He just didn't shoot the ball as well as I thought he would. And then there, of course, are some questions about his length and athleticism. But I like him. I think that he is going to be an NBA starter.
Okay. And as someone that I picked in our mock draft, but I think it was the late 20s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And he dropped, like you said, from what the initial projections were, especially when a lot of teams at the beginning of the year thought he was going to go really high and could potentially go very high in the lottery.
Yeah, and I just think he just did not shoot the ball as well as that people predicted. And he shot a decent percentage, but if he would have shot in the 40s from 3 and been a little bit more efficient, I think that his stock would have been higher.
Well, fair enough. That's number 7 on the NBA draft right there as far as prospects that would be headed for the NBA draft in the point guard position. So we're down to number 6. So who is at number 6 for the best prospects in the NBA draft at the point guard position?
Well, for me, 4, 5, and 6 are so interchangeable. And even now when I'm looking at my list, I'm still trying to debate, do I go with the guy that I have at number 6 on my list, or do I change my mind? But right now, it's going to be a shocker, but I'm going to go with Tyrese Maxey as number 6. I know there's questions whether he's a 1 or a 2. I have him as a 1. I think that's his best long-term position. And so, but I have him at number 6.
Well, that's interesting because the fact he's also been highly thought of. In fact, some people think he may go as high as the early teens in the NBA draft. I've seen him projected out, or depending on who you talk to, I've seen Tyrese Maxey projected maybe around the 10, 11, 12 spot. So that's something that could be very surprising that he's down to number 6 for you. Just tells me that there's some disparity as far as people thinking that he is going to be on the upper echelon as opposed to being maybe on the middle to the back end of the first round. So I want to hear your thoughts on why he may drop a little bit farther than some people think.
Well, I think that his ranking this year, a lot of it is based off of his reputation that he had in high school. He did not shoot the ball well at all this year. I want to say he was under 30% from 3. And one of his positives was he's supposed to be a good shooter. And then I've read like different articles and I've heard people say that they're they believe he's a much better shooter than the numbers indicate. And that could possibly be true. I've had a chance to watch him play in high school, and I've even seen him play in a gym or shoot in a gym. And he's a pretty good shooter. I think he has a low release that he may need to either change or concentrate on shooting deeper, like Trae Young. But I also feel like he could be a guy that he was really held back in the system at Kentucky. We've seen quite a few Kentucky players who, once they make it to the NBA, they're a lot better players than they were in college. I mean, even though Karl Anthony Towns was the number one pick, he did not really get a chance to show his full skill set that he had at Kentucky. Then you can make a case and say Devin Booker, who didn't start.
Definitely. I was thinking of that very same individual.
Gilgeous-Alexander, he was good. He came on late in the year, but he's definitely been a much better pro than a lot of people anticipated. So Maxey could fall into that category, and it could be something, a year from now, people remember this podcast and say, oh, yeah, you had Maxey number 6. So this draft is such a crapshoot, but I did consider, the fact that he may not have had an opportunity to really showcase what he can do with Kentucky having 3 guards that I feel like all really play the same position. But as of now, as of today, which is May 12th, I have him number 6 on my list.
Well, it's so funny. I hope a year from now they'll still be remembering this podcast.
They will. You got to have faith.
I got to have faith indeed. Number 5 on your list of point guards headed to the NBA draft. It now comes down to the top 5. So who is the 5th individual you have in your top 10 list of the NBA point guards headed to the NBA draft?
Number 5 is another guy that's pretty solid. So I have one player that's shooting up. But number 5, I have Tyrese Halliburton. I like him for what he does, but I think he could easily be a boom or bust guy. But I think he's steady. For him, it's all going to be based off the team and the fit. I think he's a point guard, but he has the length to possibly defend 1 through 3. But I think he's also more of a point guard that fits alongside a dominant ball handling 2. So even though this is a team that won't be selecting this high, but if he would be, in my opinion, a good complementary player to like a James Harden, where Harden still gets to dominate the ball, Halliburton becomes a secondary playmaker, and he's a very good knockdown shooter when his feet are set. But as far as creating off the dribble, getting into the lane, that's not his game. He kind of reminds me of Lonzo Ball, to be honest with you. I think Lonzo plays his best basketball when he's on the floor with Drew Holiday.
And that's something I wanted to ask you about with Halliburton, because Halliburton dropped in our draft, but people are talking about him as a potential top 10 and even on the outskirts of the top 5. Halliburton being right around number 5, number 6. I've heard his name there on other shows, and I've seen other lists. So that's what I want to ask you. I mean, you have him a little bit down further. In fact, our draft, I picked him, I believe, at number 15, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the case. He's dropping in our eyes. I understand why he dropped for me, or why he dropped for all of us as far as on from what I was seeing. But if you can explain out there why Halliburton, even with all those assets and gifts that you've been talking about, could slip a little bit in the draft.
Well, I think that he can easily fall into the box as a steady, safe pick. And then this could be a draft where someone says there's so many question marks, we're just going to shoot for the home run. Or a guy that we think may have a higher upside. So I could see that happening, but I wouldn't be shocked if he falls to 15, which I don't think he'll fall that low in the real draft, but I could actually see him going as high as like 7. But I think for him it would be fit. For example, if New York has the pick and, the top guards are gone, he may be a guy who they say, well, you know what? He fits nicely next to R.J. Barrett. We'll let R.J., dominate the ball and, be our main scorer, but he's a guy that can get us in the offense, and then he'll space the floor and knock down open shots. I've seen, like, in my mock draft that I updated maybe like 2 weeks ago, I have him going to Chicago. And I think that he'd be a good complementary piece to the guards they already have. Even though they drafted Kobe White last year and they have Zach LaVine, I feel like Halliburton is a guy that can play on the floor with both of them, and in some cases, all three of them. So he complements those guys because, in my opinion, Kobe White he's a scorer. He's a bucket, and that's what he wants to do. So if him and LaVine are on the floor together, the ball may not move, especially if White gets hot. If he gets hot, he's impressive when he gets hot, but the ball just stops moving. And so I think he may not get a chance to start playing along those two, or maybe White's long-term potential is as a high-scoring six-man. But I think he fits along there. And even Cleveland, if Cleveland falls in the, past number 5, I think he's a guy that they can consider because he's a pass-first guy, which they don't have. Yeah. Most of their guards are looking to score. So it just depends with him on, I think, based off of the team and how the lottery plays out. And so I feel like he can go higher. He can slip out of the lottery.
Well, there you go at number 5 with Halliburton. Again, his name has been all over the place on draft boards, and that will continue probably to be the case until we get closer to the NBA draft. So who do you have on number 4? Number 4, as far as the top 10 prospects headed to the NBA draft.
Well, number 4 is my biggest mover, and he's a guy that I'm pretty high on, and it's Kira Lewis from Alabama. I like him a lot. He's young. Even though this is his sophomore year, he just turned 19. He has good size at 6'3". He's really skinny. That could be the knock on him, that teams may not feel that he can put on weight. But he's a scorer. He shot pretty efficiently from the floor. Shot about 36% from 3. He averaged about 5 rebounds, 5 assists. But he has speed that can always get into the defense. And he's a guy that I'm higher on him than a lot of other people. So I'm curious to see if, what you mentioned earlier in the podcast, is he a guy that all of a sudden I'm going to see his name higher on other lists as we get closer to the draft day. But I really, really like Kira Lewis.
There you go. And that's someone, like I said, is rising up. Your brother was the first really to have me take notice of him as a prospect. And I glanced at him before, and then I took a second look after, like we talked about, your brother really being so high on him. And it seems like a lot of other people are getting a second look on him too, because he is rising up draft boards. And I think there's no other name I've heard that's risen up faster than him.
Yeah. And I don't know why he was so underrated during the season, but for guys that are fast, that can knock down shots, that rebound, and can distribute the ball, very, very important for today's NBA.
Very important indeed. So that is number 4, and there's a possibility he can go up even higher on this list when all is said and done. So that's who you have at number 4. Who do you have at number 3 for the top 10 point guards in the NBA draft?
Number 3, I have Cole Anthony. Now, Anthony's a guy that I've had a chance to watch his film again, and it changed my thoughts. I wasn't high on him during the season. Before the season, I was pretty high on him. During the season, there were some things that I didn't like, but then as I watched his film again, he's kind of moved back up to where I had him before the season started. And, that North Carolina team was historically bad, so it probably wasn't the best fit for him.
And that's the problem. People are weighing his performance and the skill set off of that type of NCAA team. In the ACC, we saw how catastrophically bad the Tar Heels were. Should you really hold it entirely on the blame as far as at his shoes?
Well, it just depends on how you look at it, because someone can say, well, he chose to go there. It's like, unlike the NBA where you don't really have an opportunity to pick who your teammates are, he had the opportunity to pick the school and pick the system, and it just didn't work out for him like he initially planned. But just in my second chance, or my second, time going through his film, I realized that he's a very good shooter off the ball. And he still makes some crazy decisions. He's still very, very aggressive as a scorer. But one of the things that I really like that you can't teach is his mentality. And so, he tore his meniscus this season, and he missed 11 games. Well, he could have easily just packed it in and say, you know what, I don't want to risk my draft stock. I'm good. I'm considered a lottery pick. There's no need for me to come and play, especially on the team that he had. But he came back, he played, and he played the same way. He didn't play passive. I want to say that in his first 3 games back, he went to the free throw line over 30 times. So that competitiveness and that fire is something that you can't teach. And so I think that's going to be him long term. I do think that he's a decent passer when he wants to be. I think that it's kind of hard to explain. I feel like sometimes he sees the pass, but because this team was not good, I think sometimes he may have been reluctant to make certain passes, and he was more comfortable shooting the ball. Only time will tell. I don't really know if he's a 1 at this point. I think that he's a guy that can play both guard spots simply because he's such a good shooter off the ball. And he understands how to relocate and move to get open, which a lot of point guards don't understand that because they're just so used to having the ball in their hands. So I think that could also be a role for him. He turned the ball over a lot, but again, are his turnovers because he made bad decisions, or his turnovers because he just wasn't on a good team and sometimes he was looking to force stuff when it really wasn't there? So only time will tell about that, but I think that after watching this film a second time, I'm back high on the Cole Anthony train.
You mentioned that in some recent comments on Twitter that you were going to give him a second look, and it looks like it's been worth it as far as for your evaluation to see that he can still hang somewhere within that top 10 vicinity. I'm going to say probably between the 8 and 12 spots he might go. To me, it sounds like he's going to be a fit right around there. His father is Greg Anthony, so I'm very happy to see his success. Hopefully, for going forward for him. Although he didn't play at UNLV, which is kind of a bummer. I know for Las Vegas fans out here, that was really kind of a bummer for everybody when he decided he was going to go to NC instead. But I want to see the kid work out. I know a lot of it's being held against him because of his team and because of his defense as well. So is that something of any alarm to you? Because I know his defense often gets criticized outside of also, like you said, his playmaking ability as well.
Well, he has the physical tools to be a good defender. He's quick. I mean, he may not be really long as far as length, but he can move his feet, and he's tough. He's strong. So it's just up to him if he wants to become a good defender. But for me, it was the shooting off the ball that really pushed him back up to my top 3, because I think that he can play both guard spots. So if a team ever decides that, okay, he's not a good enough decision maker or playmaker to be our point guard, I think that he can still find a way to be an NBA starter.
So that's number 3, Cole Anthony, on your list of the top 10 point guards in the NBA draft. Now comes to the final 2. And once again, I'm talking to Rafael Barlow from NBADraftJunkies.com and also his great YouTube page, NBA Draft Junkies. Please subscribe, like his videos. They go very in-depth into the prospects headed to the NBA draft. So it is a must-watch every time he puts up a new video at NBA Draft Junkies. Or you can read his listings today. Like you said, he just came out with a mock draft a couple weeks ago. He's also got some detailed profiles right there on the site, NBADraftJunkies.com. And we're now down to the final 2, my friend. Final 2 of your top 10 picks right there for point guard in the NBA draft.
Yeah, we're at the 2 that everybody came in to hear. And I think this is going to be a debate all summer long until the draft. Who's the best point guard in this particular draft? And I'm going with LaMelo Ball as my number 2 point guard.
Ooh, very interesting. Do tell, young man. Do tell.
It's not a knock on LaMelo by any means. I thought that he had a good season. I mean, he only played 11 games, if I'm not mistaken. Phenomenal passer. He's the best passer in the draft, in my opinion, and I think that I share that opinion with most people. Just the stuff that he does and what he sees and the passes he can make, you just don't see that. And especially at 6'7", good ball handler, he's shifty. There's just not many guys like him. I really don't know who to compare him to. He does still have a little, quite a bit of flaws in his game. As far as just a guy that's going to come in and create opportunities for others and sell tickets and just make passes that will, get fans out of their seats, LaMelo Ball.
There you go. And the one of the things I want to ask you is, we know about his shooting, and it's kind of rough. We know about his defense, and it's not like his brothers. It's still kind of rough, work in progress. But we do, and you've also on previous episodes talked about his ability to shoot a floater much better than his brother, who can't shoot a floater to save his life. In fact, if we were out in a pool, he wouldn't be floating very much. Let's put it that way. Because his floater is not what you call a floater. His touch around the basket for Lonzo Ball is not there yet. It's not even close.
Even at the free throw line.
Yeah, exactly. Even at the free throw line. But Lonzo has really just gotten a lot more into that. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is, you see the differences in their games when it comes to speed and athleticism. Is he capable of playing the point guard position, or will he have to be moved to somewhere like, say, off guard or maybe even small forward because of his height at 6'7"?
That's a good question. I don't think he's as bouncy as Lonzo was. I mean, if you remember at UCLA, they used to run a lot of backdoor lobs for him. I didn't know if Lonzo was going to be, well, I'll put it like this. When Lonzo was in school, I didn't think he would be the defender that he is in the NBA. So maybe LaMelo could become a better defender in the NBA. But to me, it's just mentality with him, because I think he does have the length and the quickness to defend. If he decides to I'm going to be a plus defender, I think he can be that. Because you can make a case and say he may be just as physically gifted as Lonzo. Lonzo may jump higher, but I think LaMelo is more shiftier or quicker. I think they're both fast in the open court, but I think as far as just if you were, basing it off of quickness and first step and maybe even how they slide their feet, I think LaMelo may have a little advantage there. It's just Lonzo has bought into being a good defensive player.
And that's something I think that LaMelo has to be able to do and get into that focus and that mindset, because one of Lonzo's best traits is his off-the-ball and on-the-ball defense. I think he's just an outstanding defensive player, even already at this early age. And, of course, outside of his vision, that's one of his best attributes out there on the floor for New Orleans. So if LaMelo can copy any of that, I think he'll be able to go ahead and be an effective player. I still think that there's a chance he might go number one, just because, like you said, he's got such great court vision. And I think of any player in the draft, he has the strongest attributes. I mean, the best shooters, the best passers, the best rebounders, the best block shot artists, the best steals. Of anybody in the draft, I think he has the one gift that's better than anybody, which I think might be too attractive to pass up in either the number one or number two slots.
Yeah, I can see that. His passing is definitely just on another level. But just to play devil's advocate, he only played 11 games. So you really have a small sample size of video to watch. He was on a really bad team. He was on a team where he was given total freedom. And in my opinion, there are questions if he'll be able to perform the same way if a coach does not give him that freedom. Because if you look throughout his career, and it's just weird saying career because he's only, he's still a teenager, but he's always had total freedom. He's always been able to shoot whenever he wanted to. He's been able to just throw like really high risk passes, and I in order to get the best out of him, you're gonna have to give him a long leash and allow him to be creative and gamble. He's gonna, make some high risk passes and turnovers. So I think going to the right system or coach that's going to give him that opportunity. So in my opinion, it's just going to be interesting to see if he goes to an NBA team where everything is not set up for him.
Yeah.
And how is he going to respond to that? But if he goes high, then the chances, if he's the top pick or 2 or 3, the chances are the team is going to give him the keys and put him in the best position to succeed. But that team that he had in Australia was just not good at all.
And that's something you're going to find right now in the Australian League. That it's going to be a mix or match as far as, feast or famine as far as the type of individuals you're going to be playing with. And we're seeing that, at least I am, when I watch stuff from either Israel, Europe, what have you. You're seeing like maybe 1 or 2 top teams, and then everybody else seems like to be a little bit of mix or match there as far as who's playing in some of these leagues overseas.
Yeah, and to me, and I think the Euro Cup or the Euro League for sure, and maybe even some of the domestic leagues in Europe are a lot better than Australia. And that's why I have the guy number 1 ahead of LaMelo.
That's what I'm hearing. And I actually kind of knew that was coming from you because you have spoken so highly. And there are a chosen few individuals out there that are speaking highly of who you're going to have at number 1. I will say this for LaMelo Ball. I mean, if he goes to the right team, it could be something that is really, really special. I think he would be outstanding on the Warriors because of all the shooters that they have. I think he would just be a great fit right there instead of Wiggins. That's my personal feeling right there. Put him in that slot to distribute it, and I think it could be really something special there because of the fact that, like you and I both know, it's such a great passing offense when it really starts to click and all that. Those passes, boom, 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 and then a shot, boom, 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 and then a shot. I love to see that happen again in Golden State as a basketball fan. Now, mind you, that would mean that the Lakers would have a little bit tougher time, but, that's neither here nor there. Still want the Lakers to win out, mind you. But, be that as it may, I think that LaMelo, like you said, has to, of any of those top choices, has to have the right fit in order to succeed. Because if he doesn't, because of the lack of things that he cannot do very well, they'll stick out like a sore thumb even more.
And I'm probably in the minority here, but I'm not a fan of LaMelo to the Warriors. And the reason I say that is because, I think it would be good for him from a learning aspect, but can you imagine him not getting back on defense or not playing defense and Draymond just lighting into him? Because they're going to be trying to play for a championship next year.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that they're trying to win. They're going to come in next season with a chip on their shoulder because people are going to be forgetting about them. And then I just don't think that they're going to be a good fit for a young player that needs the ball in his hands. So that's why I had mentioned like a guy like Wiseman who doesn't necessarily need the ball would be a good fit for Golden State. And this is just my opinion. But a guy that needs the ball in his hands, that is going to be expected to put up good numbers as a number 1 pick, I think the Warriors are a bad fit for them because they already have – the ball is going to be in Steph's hands. Draymond's going to be the secondary playmaker. So do you take the ball out of Draymond's hands or Steph's hands for LaMelo when you're trying to win now? Because I feel like the Warriors' window to win a championship it's a small window. So I personally would like to see LaMelo go to a team to where he can have the ball in his hands every play.
Well, there you go. That's LaMelo Ball at number 2 on our list. And now it is number 1, somebody that I've become familiar with through you, through Stone Hansen, and also through Michael Weisenberg. But also when I hear these podcasts from some of these draft experts, they are really high in this kid. You mentioned the ringer with Kevin O'Connor. I think that is someone right there who also is extremely high and has him number 1 overall on his draft board. So I want to hear your thoughts on the number 1 point guard you have headed to the NBA draft.
Yeah, my number 1 point guard is Killian Hayes. He's been my number 1 pretty much, I want to say since November. Really high on him. The one, if there is a knock on him offensively, is that he did not shoot the ball well from 3. He shot about 29%. But I'm buying stock into his improvement because he has such good touch around the rim. And even from the free throw line, he shot about 87% from the free throw line. I think his percentage is also a little low because he takes tough shots. He shoots a lot of threes off the dribble. So that plays a role in his percentage. But I just love his creativity. I think LaMelo is probably a better creative passer, but there's not many guys that are as creative as a passer as LaMelo. But in most drafts, Killian Hayes would be the best passer in the draft. I mean, you can make a case and say outside of Luka Doncic, Killian Hayes and LaMelo Ball are like the best 2 passers in maybe like the last 4 or 5 drafts, just coming off the top of my head. So, but yeah, I'm high on Hayes. I think that he has the potential to be a 3-level scorer. He's really crafty. He's not going to blow you away with elite athleticism, but he just knows how to get to his spots. He's 6'5". He, is creative ball handler, creative scorer. He uses step backs. I mean, he was one of the best finishers in transition in Europe. He shoots a good percentage around the rim, even though the fact that he just does not use his right hand. And I watched a lot of his film, and he does need to, make improvements on, just ball handling with his right and finishing with his right. But even though teams know what he's doing, and even though teams were still trying to force him to his right, he was crafty enough to just still find ways to put the ball in the basket. So I really like his potential as a 3-level scorer, but scoring is not his best attribute. It's his ability to run the pick and roll and make plays for others.
Well, there you have it. Killian Hayes is the number 1 draft prospect at the point guard position for the NBA draft. Is he number 1 on your big board?
I haven't really done a big board as far as ranking guys. I just did my board based off of the Tankathon draft order, and I did it based off of who I thought would be the best pick at that position. So that's something I'll probably work on in the near future, of just ranking guys regardless of position or team fit. That's usually something that I kind of, it's kind of tough for me because I'm always thinking of team fit, even though, a lot of times teams are just going to take the best player available anyway. But yeah, Hayes is definitely in the mix. It would be between him and possibly Anthony Edwards. But I think overall, if I had to choose between Anthony Edwards and Killian Hayes, I would take Killian Hayes.
I'm not in love with Anthony Edwards. I'm just going to be honest with you. Even your assessment and Stone Hansen's and Michael Weisenberg's and all the other shows and other lists I've seen and other reports and detailed breakdowns of him, I'm not in love with him as the number 1 pick. I still think he would be great as if he falls down to maybe the number 5 or number 4 slot. I think he'd probably be a better fit there personally. But yeah, I think Killian Hayes, the more I see, the more I like. And I'm almost beginning to agree with you that he would be a number 1 choice overall in the NBA draft.
Yeah, and I just think it's going to come down to, who has the pick. This is such a weird draft because if Golden State, Atlanta, Minnesota, if those teams, Cleveland, end up with the number 1 pick, they all have point guards that either they've signed to long-term deals or, Trae Young is going to be in Atlanta forever. D'Angelo, the Wolves just traded for him. The Warriors have Steph. So if he could easily be the number 1 player on my board, or the number one player on a lot of boards, and a team may say, well, we already have a point guard, so we're going to trade the pick. So this is probably as unique a draft as I've seen.
We'll be back with more of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Needing an edge for your fantasy football team? Listen to the guys at Inside Sports Fantasy Football for insight that will help you reach your league championship. That's Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Check it out today on your favorite podcast outlet. Once again, I'm speaking to Rafael Barlow from NBA Draft Junkies. You got to check out NBADraftJunkies.com and his awesome YouTube page, NBA Draft Junkies. Before we head on out, my friend, because it's been a great countdown of your top prospects for the NBA Draft by position. And once again, you can check out all those great things today at the Lakers Fast Break on all the different top 10 lists that we've done so far. If you have any questions, you can also email us, LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com, and also as well send us a tweet. That's going to be at LakersFastBreak. But before we head on out, you got to go ahead and give us an update of what's going on at NBA Draft Junkies.
Right now, it's just the same. Just watching film, and I'm ready to put out another video. By the time this podcast is up, I should have the Cole Anthony video up, where I'm doing 2 videos, one for his, what I like about his game. Then the next video will be about areas where I think for him to improve. I still haven't decided which prospect that I'm going to do next. And then my next goal is not necessarily the next in order, but I plan on coming out with a video explaining my my lottery, my top 14 picks based off of the Tankathon standings.
Well, there you have it. And you can find that at NBA Draft Junkies on YouTube and, of course, NBADraftJunkies.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode, but yeah, you got to be hanging around a little bit more here on the Lakers Fast Break. You're not done with us, not by a long shot, because there's still so much to talk about. Again, your travels, your experience, there's so many great stories I'm sure you could tell us if you choose to and if you want to. Plus, also, there's still more development and draft talk as it appears and as it comes down the pike, because we're still probably a ways off from the NBA draft.
Anytime you need me as a guest, I'm here. I know this is, as mentioned before, this is a weird time. Like normally around this time, we would probably be anticipating the lottery, the lottery selections and know where teams' draft order would be. But we're so far away from that it could easily spill out until late August, possibly. So we'll have a lot of time to talk draft.
Exactly. And there'll be a lot of time to definitely evaluate what's going on with all these players. And that's the good thing about this. Not that there should be really many good things as far as what's going on with the coronavirus and all that. But one of the few small positives is that you'll be able to at least have more time to take a look at these draft choices with some extra evaluation. And, of course, based off a lot of people can go ahead and check out your NBA Draft Junkies YouTube page. A lot more detail, though, not just 1, 2, 3, or 5 videos. They can check out your entire list because they'll have more time on their hands.
Yeah, I think I've made maybe 70 videos for this draft class since the start of this basketball season. So I have quite a few videos up and quite a few more to go, just because I've decided to do voiceovers for each video. It's kind of slowed down my production because it takes a little bit more time, because I'm actually speaking speaking about what I see, as opposed to just in the past few years, I would just watch guys put out a video and just kind of put a few tabs on the screen of, different stats that I wanted to highlight. So I wanted to go more in depth this year. So it's kind of slowed up my progress, but this is a year that I have a lot more time than usual. So I should probably end up with well over 100 videos once it's all said and done with the draft.
Well, that's amazing. And you can catch that today at NBA Draft Junkies on YouTube. I'll tell you what, Rafael, it's always great having you here, helping me decide or choose or listen to exactly your thoughts on as far as the best picks coming up in the NBA draft by position, plus also helping me learn more about who might be the best options for the teams out there in the NBA draft. That's always great to hear. Any last thoughts on the way out?
No, I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to come on your show and talk the NBA draft. And it's something that I've mentioned nearly every episode, but I just really wanted to let you know that I just appreciate the opportunity to come on and speak to your listeners.
Oh, that's awesome, my friend. Well, I'm sure our listeners always appreciate every time you come on. You have such great knowledge. I look forward to our future conversations coming up here, and it's just so great to have you a part of the Lakers Fast Break podcast.
Attention anyone looking for hand sanitizer. Sanitizing your hands and surfaces is one of the best ways to fight COVID-19. The FDA recently published new guidelines for the production of hand sanitizer during this public health emergency. Most commonly used hand sanitizers are not compliant. Here's the good news. You can now get the hand sanitizer you're looking for that meets FDA guidelines to fight COVID-19. Introducing Halo CV, one of the first hand sanitizers available in the U.S. that's formulated specifically for COVID-19 and meets both FDA and CDC guidelines. Get yours now at halocv.com. That's HALOCV.com. Halo CV can be used on all surfaces, such as countertops, doorknobs, and shopping carts, in addition to your hands. Made in the USA, Halo CV.
Snow is melting and it's starting to warm.
Is this for the new commercial?
This is the new commercial. We're recording. Why is it you always cut me off?
Guys, calm down. Let's just start it over.
It's too late. We have to start our show, which is Twist, the weekend sports talk, where you can hear banter like this with sports and interviews. Hear us on the RTF Sports Network, Mondays at 8 Eastern. Also, like our page on RTF Sports Network and check us out at rtfsportsnetwork.com.
For the latest information, news, and analysis of the Los Angeles Lakers and the NBA, check out the Lakers Fast Break podcast every Tuesday night at 9, right here at rtfsportsnetwork.com.
Are you looking for a veteran-based sports podcast? Tune in right now at the top of the hour, 8 p.m. to Hares and the Doggy Show. Join us. It's going to be great, guys.
Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When Dylan and I were trying to get the Airs the Dog podcast off the ground, we had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps I like to listen to? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to your podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. Airs the Dog uses Anchor by being able to reach out to other MMA fighters and combat sports athletes that may be training across the world or across the country. You can invite guests to your show as long as they have the Anchor app, access to a microphone, and it's as simple as just inviting them as long as they're in your contacts. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. Can't wait to hear your podcast. Peace.
Cool.
We're live, bro.
Sweet.
Is that way better?
Definitely. Yeah, that's actually way better.
Awesome.
Whatever you did.
Yeah, I turned the gain way down.
It's fun if you did nothing.
I turned the gain way down.
Turn it down.
Turn it down.
If I'm trying to pull up these fights right now, where they're being weird.
Like even more? Do I need to turn it down more?
No, you're perfect now. Totally perfect.
What episode is this? This is episode. This is our first technically quarantined episode.
Actually, like
But-
just being by ourselves.
Yeah, but you're actually the only reason we're not together is because you're in a different state.
Yeah, I'd take a little vacay.
Our
from
last
my
podcast
quarantine life.
was on 4/22, 2 days after 4/20. We didn't do a 4/20 podcast. How sad.
420 was almost like canceled this year, basically.
Eh,
No one gave a fuck.
yeah. Everybody was every
There's
day's
just
fun
too
on
much
4/20.
going on. Oh, no shit. That's what I was telling like my parents about this whole lockdown thing. It's like, yeah, my life didn't change at all. At all.
Really? Honestly, you didn't.
No.
I still go to work. I still come home. I still get paid every 2 weeks. Actually, it's kind of nice. I get paid every week now. So
That's
it's
pretty
maybe
dope.
it's even better.
Dude, my life literally didn't change.
Yeah, that's
Like, I mean,
fantastic, bro.
I just fucking, I was at home playing video games, getting stoned anyways. Now the rest of the country is like me.
Well, thanks to our awesome sponsors, New View Pharma, we've been able to keep up with the, I guess not keep up, but fill our time with dubious amounts of
Our needs, desires, wants.
Well, I've been watching a lot of like old movies. I know you've been watching a lot of anime during this whole quarantine. We've been in quarantine, I think now 52 days, bro.
Well, dude, even anime's on standby. Like, there's
Is
no
it really?
episodes of shit coming out. Yeah, unless, like, the ones I'm watching are on break just randomly, which happens. You know, they take a week off or what.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
the show had taken 2 weeks off, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. Middle
Yeah,
of the
but-
season. So I'm just guessing they're all backed up.
Which is weird because some shit is getting pushed even further, but other stuff is like coming back.
I know.
But it's the stuff that people are causing a fuss about on the internet that's coming back. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's like, we want sports. We want sports. We want, okay, fine.
Did you watch the UFC the other night?
No, I didn't. I didn't even fucking order it. I didn't even want to stream it because I don't want to get a virus on my brand new computer.
Oh, no, I just bought it.
Yeah, I know. I should have just fucking asked you. I just didn't want to spend the $65 for it to be a shitty, card.
For
But
sure,
I
yeah.
knew it wasn't. I knew the main event wasn't going to be shitty. What I should have done is put fucking money on Justin Gaethje, which is what I wanted to do.
Yeah, you definitely should have.
Yeah, I wonder if Jeremy won anything.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I was supposed to do a podcast with him, but never heard back. But he's a busy man with his puppies. Oh, dude, I wanted to say something about this. It's in my hand right now, cold and ready to be drank. Hold on.
Oh, what you got?
Fucking good old trusty PBR. It was only $9.99 for a 12-pack.
Dude, that's a good deal.
It is a good deal, bro.
That is a good
why
deal.
I love PBR. Emily thinks PBR is better than Keystone, which I think is a lateral.
Yeah,
I'd say it's equivalent.
You can hand me either one, and I feel the same. To be honest,
I don't know. I'd say I'm a little more excited about a PBR.
I think they're rare.
Just because,
Yeah,
just because I know what a Keystone is. Like, if you're gonna give me a Keystone, fuck that. Give me a Coors Light.
True. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yes.
yeah, it's beer, but I'm still old enough now to be able to buy Coors Light. I don't have to steal Keystone from my local Walmart.
Very true. Very, very true. And
You
it's
didn't
like,
feel it as a teenager because it was cheap. You know what I'm
well,
saying?
the only time you have PBR is if you buy it, or if it's like an idea, But
Yeah,
if
poor man.
someone random
Bro.
hands you a fucking PBR, it's like, holy shit, you buy PBR too? Oh,
Yeah, it's like,
we're gonna be
oh,
friends.
you're poor like I am?
You
I'm just kidding.
have shitty taste in beer.
It's not even shitty. It's hipster, bro. Everybody thinks it's cool.
Yeah,
There's
but what's
PBR.
funny though is like
PBR
all
hat,
American
bro.
beer tastes like shit. Apparently,
Oh, it does. Very much so. It tastes like metal.
I
It
love
all
that I
tastes
don't
like
know
metal.
the difference though.
Oh, bro, I love Irish beer. Smithwick's,
Of course.
dude. When you get back, we're going to Abby's, and you're getting a Smithwick's. You're getting fucking 2 shots of JMO IPA and a fucking Guinea, and we're gonna get some appetizers, and we're gonna get fucking white girl wasted. We're gonna fucking karaoke. We're gonna fucking woohoo there. It's gonna be a great time. And Emily
brings a tear to my eye.
Keisha needs to come, and Emily and I and you and Keisha double date to fucking Abby's and get fucking good old happy time. We find a nice young lady for Jeremy to whoa.
Hang out with. Woo, woo. Whoa. Do you mean woo? I think you mean woo.
No, I burped at this. Yeah, woo. I know that's a stupid excuse.
Yeah,
Bro, guess what? Speaking of getting high, let's talk about firearms. I bought that AR and it's fucking awesome, man. I bought so our listeners know, I bought a Ruger AR 5.56 16.1 inch barrel, and it is fucking beautiful. It's brown. It's
16.1.
It's 16.1. I think the suppressor makes it.
Suppressor on it?
Flash suppressor, yeah.
Oh, that's fucking badass.
Yeah, dog. Actually, I think it's a compensator.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You ain't wrong. Yeah, it's a compensator. It's not a flash suppressor. I'm an idiot. Fucking cat 'em.
You remember how long the M4 barrel is?
I think it's like 15.8 inches. Hold on.
I want to say under 17 it's classified as carbine. For some reason, that's what I want to say. I like how these fights were supposed to start at 5, but I'm still watching Bisping talk to this other dude.
What did I say? 15 point something?
You said for the 4 was 15. Yeah,
15.4. I don't know, maybe. Yeah, it's 14.5. You were correct.
I was correct. No, I didn't say
With
that.
a rapid rate of fire of 700 to 950 rounds per minute, likely. Bro, what's cool about like us firing those weapons, like the M4, the M9, the 240, and the 249, is we're at the end of the time of their service.
They're getting rid of all those guns?
Eventually, they're phasing out. They're going to phase out the M4 with a bullpup. I guarantee it. Look at what Europe has.
Yeah.
And everybody out here has been investing into the little fucking pistol bullpups. We need something a little bit more inexpensive because our military is getting massive. We need something with,
they already
not necessarily
changed it to
smaller.
9.
Yeah, they have that new
Army
SIG,
using SIGs.
fucking M17, yeah.
Dude, I was on it was a traffic stop course, but it was geared towards like shit's gonna hit the fan. Like everyone had sim rounds.
Okay.
Yeah, so
it's like a fucking doomsday scenario.
Yeah, everyone's wearing masks, crotch guard, shit like that. So you roll up as a cop.
Simunitions.
Yeah, you play it cool from the beginning, but you roll anyway. There was a and then the guy's supposed to try to shoot you, whatever, shit like that. Random shit's supposed to go down, but it was with other agencies, and there was a couple of Texas troopers out there, and one of the dude was talking about how this was before the Army had changed to the SIG, But he's like, look at this. All this weapon is the trigger system. And he takes the whole gun apart, and he goes, I can change that barrel to a 9, to a 40, to a 45. I'm like, are you fucking serious? Yeah, he's like, the whole weapon system is this trigger system. Yeah, and the slide. I was like, that's cool.
They have that. Yeah, the M17, the actual Sig Sauer manufacturing name is called the P320, and it won that competition because I think Beretta put in for the APX because the Army wanted to go to a striker fired pistol.
Yes.
And so they went with I think Beretta, they went with Sig, and then what was the other one? I think HK was another contract.
Probably.
I can't remember. This was fucking 2015, 16.
It was a while ago. I remember that.
Yeah, it was 2017. January 2017 is when the Army switched. So that fucking pistol is awesome. But what pistol I really want, because I'm thinking, bro. I'm thinking about something, Dill. I'm thinking we get into some 3-gun competitions and make an Heirs of the Dog team, and we make our own fucking
That'd
shirts.
be cool.
And you and I just go and fucking win competitions shooting. Because we win.
3-gun's fun.
We're really good at fucking beer pong overseas. You might as well fucking. We ever told that story on the podcast about? I
don't think so.
Anyway, it's a short story of you and I overseas fucking drinking near beer on St. Pat's Day.
Yeah. So the stars just came
Yeah,
alive.
bro.
Like,
it was great.
It was weird. Everything just had to because we were there on St. Patty's Day.
And it was stop, dude. You pissed off? He's just barking for no reason. Emily's not even home yet. Oh, by the way, Emily's going to be home soon, so they might bark and fucking get loud for a second. So I'll just mute my mic.
Okay.
So I might be gone for a few seconds, but
I'll talk to myself for a couple.
Yeah, just plug our sponsors.
Andre Arlovsky. Talk about what?
RTF Sports, because we need to apologize to RTF Sports for missing the past 2 weeks.
We're sorry.
I'm sorry. Anyways, whatever. We're gonna keep consistent with, we got to figure it out now mobily.
Yeah, life is good.
Yeah, life is good. Anyway, we were talking about guns, bro. 3-gun. What would your 3-gun be? Because you know a little bit about manufacturers and different brands of weapons and shit.
Yeah, but not enough to
You haven't shot enough.
give a fuck what's in my hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I haven't shot. I've shot a lot, but I've shot one gun a lot. You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, you shot the 9 a lot.
Yeah, and I have a Smith & Wesson handgun that I've shot.
I say the 9. I say the 9. I'm like, you shoot the 9 a lot. You're like, what? Which one, you dumbass? Everybody just assumes, if you're in the military and you're like, yeah, the 9. Everybody just knows the Beretta 92 FS because that's what everybody had.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. Dude, even new Berettas are so much different than the shit you get issued.
Oh, yeah. The shit you get. You remember?
So it's you don't know what gun you're shooting unless you've shot it a few times.
Remember my Beretta in Afghanistan? The trigger wouldn't go back out.
I remember I remember exactly why too.
Yeah, because I thought I knew what the fuck I was doing. I was like, hey Dylan, guess what? I'm gonna be Cadam someday. Hey, guess what, Dylan?
I think that was the day you decided to do it too.
Oh.
I thought that was the day you decided to not be Cadam.
No, that was the day I decided, hey, this is wrong. I want to figure out how to fix this.
I remember sitting there going, well, I guess we're down a gun.
And then I just remember doing the function check on it after putting it, and I was like, hey, man.
I guess, okay, we can start.
Hey, man,
Johnny wanted to we were bored as shit in a Humvee sitting in the middle of a parking lot in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We got whoever had the great idea, I don't know. Well, it was just to clean, because we had these little cleaning kits they give you. You know,
Yeah, little zipper
definitely
ones.
not supposed to clean your shit on post, but whatever.
Yeah, your weapon in Afghanistan on post should not be taken apart. Yeah.
Johnny decides to cat and clean his fucking weapon.
I never done it.
Me, I take the barrel apart, take all that shit. Barrel's gone. But Johnny wanted to go, trigger is off. Fucking.
Dude, what I wanted to do, I did what Elderkin taught me. Because Elderkin was the Catum guy at our base, and he was attached to my team. And he was like, "Hey, O'Neill, you want to go Catum, right?" And then remember, we did the 240 in that little fucking Connex that all of us watched a fuck ton of movies on that little ass fucking TV on. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That Connex at fucking, what was it, ECP Whiskey, I think it was. I'll never forget ECP Whiskey because it was the ECP where all the shit went down at. Hold on, Emily's coming home. Plug it.
We're gonna give a shout out to our sponsors, good old New View Farmer, hooking us up with the best weed we could ever possibly hope for, especially in these trying times of individuals being sick. You got stuff in your lungs. Nobody wants to hear all that, but just get stoned. Life is good. New View Farmer. We also like to give a shout out to RTF Sports Network, hooking us up all the time with all the sports that we're not seeing nowadays. I'm watching live sports right now, though, to be honest. UFC's got their shit going on.
And we're back. And just so you know, I don't know if you care, but there's a NFL draft, I think, happening or about to happen or has already happened. See how much I care?
Yeah, I do see how much.
Oh, no. It happened. Yes, I know it happened because the Broncos got 2 wide receivers. That's the only reason I care.
Oh, and Jeremy was pissed too, yeah, because the Eagles didn't pick up fucking anybody. They picked up like a secondary quarterback.
I know, and they want to run a 2 quarterback offense.
It's so stupid, dude. The only thing that beat them last year was their fucking D-backs were terrible.
Oh yeah, and when they played the freaking Red Wings in the championship, I thought that they were going to win on 2 freaking home runs, but you know, who knows? Golf is golf.
What's when the Mud Dogs won the Bourbon Bowl?
You remember when the Mud Dogs won the Bourbon Bowl? Do you? You remember when Bobby Boucher, but you come back and the Mud Dogs won the Bourbon Bowl? Do you? Oh, and I like school. I fucking
Have you watched this MJ documentary?
Michael Jackson? Yeah.
Michael
Finding
Jordan?
Neverland? No, just. Yeah, no, I've watched like the first episode. No, I know that there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people going crazy about it. I don't care, bro.
I wasn't on that train.
No, I thought Michael Jordan was cool for Space Jam. That's about it.
Yeah, I thought it was cool when I was watching it as a kid and on the Bulls. You know, that was really it. I didn't know.
Bro, I didn't even like basketball like that. I just watched.
I didn't either. I was just watching it with my dad. For some reason, his team was Chicago Bulls.
Oh, he was? Yeah, okay. So I understand that. My parents' team was they were all Lakers fans. So I grew up actually watching Kobe. So I actually watched games of Kobe Bryant and Shaq and like throwback games of Shaq? Well, when Kobe played with Shaq. I wish I would have watched the games with Shaq because that would have meant that I was playing in the NBA.
Yeah.
With Shaq and Kobe as a 3 and 4 year old.
That's a movie I watched.
That's a movie. Dude, I'll watch it.
The movie Rookie of the Year.
Do you remember the movie? You remember the movie Bedazzled, where he turns into a basketball? Oh, bro, with Brendan Fraser.
No.
Bro, you are sleeping on this movie right now. Holy shit!
I don't know
Bedazzled.
what you're talking about.
Bro, Bedazzled.
I'm talking about Rookie of the Year.
Oh, I'm talking about some gay shit.
Have you seen that movie? The Disney movie?
Yes, Rookie. No, it's called The Rookie.
No, it's the Rookie. I just watched it. It's the Rookie of the Year. No, two different movies.
Not the one with what's his nuts?
Who's that?
The pitcher.
The pitcher?
Yeah, the rookie, where he throws a fucking mile-an-hour ball.
Yeah, he's like a 12-year-old.
Oh, rookie of the no, that's his son. Hey, Dad. Hey, Dad.
Oh,
he's
wait,
this kid from Two and a Half Men.
That's the sequel. That's the sequel.
What? Did we just fucking unlock something?
Because in the movie,
In the Monkey of the Year,
that kid's dad is gone, and he was a professional baseball player. He was a pitcher.
Oh my God!
If that is for real thing, I've never put two and two together.
Oh, my brain hurts. I don't know.
But yeah, he breaks his arm, and then apparently his tendons heal all like stiff, so he can throw like a 100-mile fastball. So they put him in the majors.
Oh man, that's his son. What the fuck is his name?
This
hey,
is the kid.
What's the name of the actor that's in The Rookie?
The Rookie?
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, it's Michael Keaton, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it's Michael Keaton.
I don't want to Google it, but I guess I could.
Yeah. 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 The baseball. Dennis Quaid. Fucking A. It's
Quaid?
Jesus fucking Christ.
Are you thinking of that Field of Dreams?
No, bro. Field of Dreams does not have Dennis Quaid. Field of Dreams has Jesus.
It's Dennis.
No, it's not. It's fucking what's his name? Kevin Costner. Jesus fucking Christ.
Waterworld. Yeah, you're right. Damn it. I used to drive by that field all the time. Not all the time, but a couple times.
The Field of Dreams?
Yeah, literally. It's still a field.
Whoa.
It's in Iowa. Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh. I didn't I think I Yeah, can I let's go.
Yeah, it's cool. Ready? It's you've seen it before, but
I've seen the movie once.
Yeah. So I mean you've seen it.
Once you've seen it 1,000 times.
Yeah, basically. Year, dude. I have a new found love for Disney Plus. I've never liked Disney Plus until this week.
Oh, bro. Yeah. Old Disney movies on there.
That I used to get from the public library as a child.
Yeah. I used to dig through my dad's laser disc collection.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, that's what I'm talking about.
What am I watching? Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yes.
Great movie.
Are there the Apple Dumpling Gang?
The what?
The Apple Dumpling Gang?
Yes.
The Apple Dumpling Gang is the shit. Freaking The Rocketeer.
Mm-hmm.
That shit is good. The Sound of Music.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. I ain't gonna lie, I really like The Sound of Music. How can you hate her voice? The answer is you can't. You cannot hate her voice. Julie Andrews?
Oh, a deer, a female deer.
Ray.
Golden sun.
I'll skip to sometimes when I'm feeling froggy, I'll just skip to the what's that song? Where they're feeling the feel good song where they're feeling happy.
Come on, get happy.
No. There's a thunderstorm happening.
I don't
remember. When the bee stings. When I'm feeling sad. These are yeah. Oh, what a good song, dude.
I have.
I don't know why. I have not watched that movie. Honestly, I can't tell you the middle or the end. I know the beginning. I know the songs. I probably know up until that song, to be honest. It's a 3-hour-long movie, bro.
Yeah, it's like Full Metal Jacket. I know up until We Love You Long Time.
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah.
Misaki?
Especially, I can't do a 3-hour musical. I really can't do an hour-and-a-half musical.
I can't do a 30-minute musical.
Yeah, I mean the songs better be good.
If I'm in the musical, then I'm fucking happy because I'm singing. You know.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm the dude singing. You know what I'm saying?
You're the dude playing the dude. Disguised as another dude.
And that's what I need. That's what I need in my life, bro. You know, speaking of dude playing another dude, you know they're making another Encino Man, dude.
Oh no shit.
Encino Man 2, Return to the Wheeze.
It really makes me want to watch Biodome.
Oh, bro, Biodome. We watched Biodome the other night for the first time. Emily's never seen it, and she realized how far we've come as a male culture.
It is one of those movies, for sure.
It's just like, wow, you can't say that anymore.
You cannot make that movie nowadays, for sure not.
Yeah, for sure not. Absolutely. Oh, man.
In the Army now, it doesn't get made. There's a lot of movies like that just don't get made nowadays. And I guess that's a sacrifice we had to make. I don't know.
Zero National Lampoon movies are made.
National Lampoon?
Yeah. Not one National Lampoon's movie is made.
Nope. What was the other one that was like that? Van Wilder.
That's a National Lampoon.
Is it? Yeah, you're right. Well, what was the one? There was National Lampoon, and then there was another series. I'm thinking of
Scout. She keeps fucking ripping up the goddamn comforter, and it's gonna piss me off.
American Pie.
I'm sorry. Yes, American Pie is. Yes,
that might happen. I'm gonna try to find the first American Pie movie. That might be a movie tonight.
I can't remember his dad's name.
Eugene, not Eugene. Is it Eugene Levy?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the character's name though?
No idea. It's been a while. I couldn't tell you. I know the plot of that movie, but I couldn't tell you what happens really.
July. Thanks on a hot dog real fast.
How are you so good at that, boy?
Bro. I love her in Click, bro. Do you remember her in Click?
Oh yeah.
When he mutes her, she starts crying. She reminds me so much of somebody in my family that I can't mention, but it's so great.
Oh god, dude, those movies are so great. Stifler's mom.
Fucking Stifler. Oh man.
Rick and Morty had a Click reference the other day in their last episode or the one before it.
Say that again?
Rick and Morty had a Click reference.
Oh really?
Yeah. I only saw it the second time I watched through it. Like yesterday.
Are you squeezing ketchup out of a bottle or something?
No, I just realized it was happening every time I turn my head. It's a fucking zipper I have on.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's like it sounds like your air is escaping between you squeezing the ketchup.
Let's get some ketchup.
Yep. Let's get some ketchup.
I do
some
like
Heinz.
ketchup.
Sponsored by Heinz.
Heinz. Get some.
I don't think we can say that, but
Heinz.
People. Not enough people watch us for it to make a difference to Heinz. The whole 20-something plays we get every episode.
I could make a dope Heinz commercial.
It's a start. I really enjoying the slow climb in our analytics.
I like that word.
Yeah, bro. Hey, speaking of analytics, let's analyze the fucking UFC 249 card.
Have you seen them?
I have not. I have seen highlights. So this is really terrible, and maybe we should cover it on the next episode.
No,
because
I watched them. It's great. They were great. I mean, highlights are enough for sure. I mean, you probably saw the entire Francis Ngannou fight.
oh yeah, absolutely, just the big fucking overhand, right?
I was listening to Shad talk about how his
What
team was
it?
probably pissed. Huh?
Was it an uppercut? Or was it overhand?
Whatever he caught him with. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. I think overhand left, maybe. Fucking 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a fun one. Fucking Henry Cejudo retiring.
Yeah. Tired off of Dominic.
I'm trying so hard not to make that happen. Did you see that stoppage?
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I heard it. I heard about it, and I'm just gross. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess it is Henry Cejudo's way of going out. Like, yikes.
Yeah, he's done.
Bro, you questionably retained the belt, and then you're gonna retire like you're the king of shit. Like, what the fuck? Like, dude, you've been in the UFC a whole fucking 2 seconds.
Look what he's accomplished. It's pretty crazy, though.
Oh, no, I'm not knocking him by any means. I'm just saying, it's like, I just don't like him. Buddy. He's not a personable dude whatsoever.
No, you're right. I feel the same way, but it's like you look at his career, and he's the youngest dude to ever hold an Olympic wrestling gold medal after winning state tournaments, in high school.
Yeah.
And then he gets the belt, not the belt, sorry, he wins the gold, retires from wrestling. Joins the UFC, wins three belts in like fucking 6 years.
Yeah.
It's insane. And then he's like, deuces. His retirement's probably final, too. Like, he doesn't hang out a lot.
Yeah, TKO in the second round. Last 2 seconds of the round.
I didn't like that at all. I could understand the stoppage.
Is that who's the ref on that?
No, it wasn't Dean. It was the dude who's got sleeves. He always wears the slick down comb over. He's got the line in his hair.
Is it fucking Mark Stand-Up Goddard?
Oh, mate. No. Was it? Fuck, was it? I don't think so. I don't remember, dude. I don't think so, though. But I am describing. No. I feel like I'm
his
describing
fucking
Mark
coach.
Goddard. For sure. Yeah,
you are. Yeah, you are. Fucking old coach. His coach, fucking, what's his name? Henry Cejudo's coach. Wears the fucking douchey white glasses.
I don't know his name.
I'm sorry, but anybody that wears white glasses, you need to get your ass kicked at least once.
I mean, you're looking to get made
you
fun
either
of, sure.
you're a Chad.
You're a Chad
if you
a
wear
Brad,
white glasses.
One of the
no,
two.
Brad wears wood frame glasses. Chad's all about the white. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Brad wears sandals. Chad wears fucking DCs.
BCs.
DCs, like DC shoes, like Rob Dyrdek.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? I'm Rob Dyrdek.
Brad wears Sperry's and Chad wears Echo.
Sure, I guess if they were from Iowa.
No, people don't wear Sperry's in Iowa. It's like a boat thing.
No. People wear Sperry's in Colorado, which is totally not understandable because there's not much ocean.
No,
here.
not much. Not much at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess there is a lot of boating out here, though, like wakeboarding and lakes and shit.
Stuff,
so I guess you can get away with it. Yeah.
I feel like they're like a yacht thing.
Henry Carlos Cejudo is an American mixed martial artist and freestyle wrestler He went to Coronado High School here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Oh, Coronado. What's their mascot? The Cougars? The Coronado Cougars? I'm pretty sure that's what they are.
Cougars.
They are. They are Cougars. Cejudo is a Cougar.
But I wish that
not in the feminine
definitely
way.
would have continued.
Like he goes
fucking
after
2 seconds left, dude. That pissed me off. I was kind of pissed, real mad actually. I hate it when anything happens at the end of the round. Don't give up a takedown at the end of the round. Don't give up points at the end of the round. Especially don't fucking lose at the end of the round. Like, I get if you got no control over it, for sure. But god damn, that pissed me off.
Yeah, I definitely don't understand. I think if that was Herb Dean, because he was the one that was at the main event, wasn't he? He was the main event ref. Or the main card ref. Was Cejudo even on the main card?
Yeah, he was. Well, yeah, it was championship fight.
Okay. Yeah, it had to have been.
It was a co-main. But, yeah.
Was there a female fight at all on there?
I didn't see any. No, not on that main card.
That's kind of rare.
On the main card. I watched Cowboy Cerrone lose to fucking Anthony Pettis.
Oh yeah, Anthony Pettis. I heard that was a brawl.
Fight. It was questionable. I think Cowboy could have beat him. And any other judges. That's what's so weird about this sport.
Yeah, I feel like they fought before. Haven't they fought before though?
I think. I mean, they've both been fighting for like 10 years, 25 years.
Yeah, Anthony Pettis has been super active lately. Both of them have been super active.
I feel like they both lose a lot.
Like, yeah, but they're brawl. Like they lose, but they whoop the shit out of the other person. The other person's not leaving, fucking unscathed by any means. True. Like, who was it? Pettis and Gaethje fought, right?
Talking about Pettis and Tony?
No, it was Pettis and
Ferguson.
Pettis and Tony, and then it was Pettis and
I think this.
Or no, it was Gaethje and
Dustin Poirier.
Al, Raging Al. No, Raging Al.
That's what's crazy. And Gaethje lost to Pettis, not Pettis. Poirier.
Dude, yes. Dude, all of these fights are mixing together. There were so many good fights. We need to do.
Styles.
That's what next episode's going to be.
Gaethje's style of fighting just tears up Tony. Dude, I was like, holy shit, watching that fight. That was insane.
I need to watch the whole thing just because I from what I heard, that was I think the most significant strikes in a UFC fight in history.
It was like he was fucking hitting him with a baseball bat every time. And there's no one in the crowd. So you just hear everything smacking against his head.
Oh man. It's exactly what Tony Ferguson wants to go home and freaking listen to. And listen to techno music dancing around his house on a fucking yoga ball. I'm excited
for the return of Tony Ferguson.
Playing
He'll come
darts.
back mean.
Oh, dude, he's gonna come back and be the guy that just he doesn't give a shit. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like he's gonna come back and be like, "Oh, you want to be in the UFC?
Yeah.
Okay."
Did you see the stoppage? Oh, dude, it's eerie. Was
eerie. He still going?
Yeah, it's really eerie. He because he's getting beat up and. Tony's giving it back to him, too. Like, he hit him with an uppercut that put him on the ground at the end of the round. If it was in the middle of the round, he might have won the fight, And it was just, these fights are starting. And he keeps getting hit. So it's the fucking fourth round, maybe? Early on in the round. And Gaethje is just cool, calm, collected, just keeps cracking him. Just keeps cracking him. Like a heavy bag. And Tony's face turns unrecognizable, just covered in blood. And he's trying to swing the blood out of his eyes by shaking his head. But you can tell that he's not doing it. Like you can when he shakes his head, dude, there's no one there. So it's like his his body and his brain, his body was telling his mind, you know, that 40% rule that the like special forces guys talk about? Like when you want to quit, you've got 40% left easily. Like when your brain says we're done, your body can easily go 40% farther. Well, it was like they met together and were like, yeah, this is a good idea to shut this dude off. And when he shakes his head, you can tell there's just no one home anymore, and it's weird. And it's like, whoa. And then Gaethje hits him again, and he's up against the cage, and Herbene's seen enough. He's like, yeah, we're fucking done. Standing TKO, dude. It's crazy. He shakes his head like, whoa, and it's just like zombie.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy. I'm going to watch it because just the mind of Tony Ferguson, it really fucking intrigues me, bro.
Yeah.
Really. Like, just for the simple fact of being able to go as long as he went.
Well, any
undefeated,
of those punches Gaethje hit would put anyone to sleep. And it's a known fact.
Well, not only that,
one punch a lot. Like the dude hits hard.
Well, they're both fucking powerhouses when it comes to fucking significant strikes. They both have that. Like Gaethje has definitely become more of a household name, and become more of in the limelight with that, just because he hasn't had his time to shine like Tony has. And I think it is, bro. I think Tony. Or I think Justin's going to steamroll Habib.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I think he definitely could do that.
I think Gaethje Conor fight. I think Gaethje fucking either this is what happens, bro. They make this Gaethje Conor fight, and Conor's been ducking Gaethje like no other. And you know it. We all know it. He's coming off of fucking 2 years of, not fighting and then fighting Donald Cerrone.
You need tune-up fight. For sure, get a tune-up fight in there. Maybe a couple tune-up fights.
For sure. But don't come in here trying to act like you can fucking win the interim title against somebody that you never even fought. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's
two people
fights.
that he's never fought.
Saying he can beat these dudes.
For sure, but I get it, but I'm over it now. As a actual fan of the sport, like
I think
quit
Conor
talking, bro.
Yeah,
you think Conor beats Gaethje?
I think so. I think he still does.
I'm just tired of Conor talking. I'm just ready for him to fight. You know what I'm saying?
Cannot come soon enough.
I think I'm just sour. I'm just a sour fan. I'm just a sour UFC fan. I want Conor back in the octagon. And I'm never getting off the Conor train, bro. You know that. I'm gonna talk shit about him like he's family, and I'm gonna praise him like he's a brother. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, never off the train.
Yeah.
Never
off the train. It might be fucking shoveling coal in the back.
There might be some hard times.
Doing some work. Yeah. Yeah, but the train never stops. Don't stop the beat. Can't control the feet of people. Yeah, bro. I introduced that song to somebody today at work, and they did not know it was a Danish band, and I informed them, so you would be proud. I tell everybody about that because it's a popular American song, and nobody knows it's Danish. Like I learned them. Anyway, I don't know why that popped into my head, but anyways,
that'll be
Conor
fun.
Conor Gaethje.
Yeah, it'll see who fights. Masvidal still needs to fight. He can fight.
Is that Stipe Cormier fight still going on?
Was everything's signed? They're just waiting for a date somewhere in the fall. And then I saw Stipe, like the issue was he had a torn retina and he wasn't sure if he wanted to even fight just because it was going to take a while to heal and it wasn't even worth it, shit like that. But then this pandemic hit, and so now he has to be a firefighter.
Yeah.
Like they don't have choices.
So this will be the third time they fought then, huh?
It's the rubber match, for sure. Definitely is.
Yeah, well, fucking DC fucking poked Stipe in the goddamn
first or
eye.
second fight? Yeah,
That was the second
won
fight.
The second fight.
Because Stipe had to go.
Yeah.
Did he? Then I think it might have been the first fight. Because I'm pretty sure DC. I don't know, bro. We watch so much UFC. It's hard to keep track.
DC. That was probably the first fight. The second fight, DC. It was like a TKO, standing TKO, almost. He hit him with like 3 liver shots that DC just couldn't handle. Like in a row. He just kept digging at him. Pop. He'd fucking faint a little bit. Pop.
Freaking fat boy.
He'd faint a little bit. Pop. He's like, oh. Just crippled his ass.
Hit me right in the freaking oatmeal cream pie.
Yeah, he put on a clinic, dude.
I know that boy DC likes some oatmeal cream pies. He likes some oatmeal cream pie, and he likes some Cane's chicken. Bro, that
Dude,
Cane's
last time I
chicken
had
is so good.
it did not agree with me. I don't know what happened. Yeah, like a half hour
Really?
it had to come
Have
out.
you tried?
I was pissed.
What? That sucks, bro. Yeah, that sucks.
Like, what the hell? But whatever.
Yeah, fuckers.
And that was like 3 weeks ago, so I thought for sure I had coronavirus.
Coronavirus.
Give me a guess. Colby Covington fights who,
what was that?
where, and...
Oh, that's kind of...
Are you on your laptop?
That's a fucking good old Brett.
You should sign into your ESPN and watch these fights with me. This would be a good heavyweight fight. Chase
Brett
Sherman
Okamoto.
had what's MS for states? Mississippi? Missouri? Missouri is MS.
MS?
Yeah, you're right.
Mississippi. That's where fucking good old Jason Knight's from. Biloxi, Mississippi, I think, is where he's from. No, he's not from Biloxi.
Isn't he from Alabama? Oh, you're right. He is Mississippi.
No, Jason Knight? Yeah, he's from Mississippi. Freaking, he's from D'Iberville. D'Iberville? I can't fucking say it right.
Who? The kid?
P. Sherman, 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney.
Because they might be out of the same camp then.
Oh, no, you're talking about Caleb Harris?
Who you're talking about.
Caleb Harris, I'm talking about bare knuckle, but both of them are from Mississippi.
These are UFC fights on right now.
Yeah, but I'm talking about people that we've interviewed. We've interviewed both of those dudes. Shout out to Caleb Harris and fucking Jason Knight if they're listening. We want to have you guys back on and say what's up to us.
Howdy.
Let us know what kind of beer you're drinking. And
Dude, that last.
Hey,
I remember that last fucking video. Of Jason
howdy,
Knight talking about how to beat up somebody in a bathroom during a video of him beating someone up in a bathroom.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was from like a year ago. What's his name? His fucking marketing dude posted that. That dude is fucking hilarious, bro. Jason Knight would be a fun dude to go out, and party with. Like, go to like somewhere like San Antonio or like Tempe, where there's a bunch of fucking loudmouth people that just don't understand.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Understand life.
And just be the dude that watches him just go off on people. And you and I are just buying drinks all night. We just buy him drinks. Like, bro, that was awesome the way you fucked that dude up in the last bar. That's great. Pretty sure you killed that last dude, man. I'm pretty sure he's dead. Oh, fuck. Well, I'm thinking next episode we do our top 25. No, not that many. Let's do our top 10 UFC fights of all time. So kind of go through your little mental archives of all your favorite fights, and we will conglomerate and collaborate next week because you're home with your mom and dad drinking Miller. No.
It's
What do
whatever's
your
on
parents
sale.
drink?
So right now it's Milwaukee's best,
It's
baby.
whatever's on
Fucking
sale. I fucking love
not
that.
Bush.
Milwaukee's
Is
best.
it Milwaukee's best?
Milwaukee's best
Yeah,
is
is that
PBR.
the fucking slogan? Not Bush, damn it. Fucking it's not Miller either. Not Michelob. Fuck no, not Michelob. Oh, that's gonna piss me off. Oh, I got a computer right in front of me.
Natural light.
I think it starts with an M. Dude, we both know it so easily. It's gonna piss me off.
Beers that start with M.
I know as soon as I
Miller, Michelob,
I literally just Googled.
Hey, Emily.
What?
What are beers that start with M?
But Michelob's no.
Blue Moon?
No, Blue Moon starts with a B.
I want to say it's a.
Beers that start with M.
Can't stop.
Don't stop the beat. I can't stop. We're gonna figure this out.
We are.
Alphabetical list of beers.
No.
Modelo? No. Yeah, it's a freaking Iowa staple.
I believe it.
Yeah.
What website are you on?
Gotta see. Thebeerguy.ca.
Because I found a list that's exactly that, but it's not the same website. So we're good.
Okay, I found it. Michelob, Millennium, Miller High Life.
No.
Molson. Oh man, Molson's good. That's a Canadian.
I got everybody on this.
We already said Modelo. Emily's fucking searching.
Come on. Maybe it doesn't start with an M.
Are you sure it's an M?
No.
Is it Moose Drool?
No.
No. Is it?
I can tell you. Okay. Okay.
O'Doul's?
You know what I'm gonna do?
Fucking
I remember the fucking can. If it's not doesn't start with an L, an M, I'm gonna be embarrassed.
What's the can?
Beer with. It's the beer with the pinup girl on it. Let's see. No, not Old Firehouse. Old Milwaukee. Old Mill, dude.
Scout.
You hear me?
God, you make me sick.
I'm embarrassed.
I guess it doesn't start with an M, but I mean, yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
It's old.
Yeah.
It's
so
old
I guess
Milwaukee.
we got a pass, but we kind of don't have a pass because I definitely should have thought of it.
Old Milwaukee, M.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I know. Dylan fucked up. He didn't give us the O first.
Well, I thought we were just in agreement.
Shit for the Blue Moon.
No, it's my fault.
Well, it definitely wasn't Blue Moon.
Blue Moon. Yeah, it definitely wasn't Blue Moon. Duh.
Oh, I come back to this UFC.
Why is the dog
fight
pacing?
One dude's dead on the ground.
Down.
Leg kick.
Can you help me?
Oh, with knees. No, elbow. Damn. Kudos.
What happened? Leg
I
kick?
started with a leg kick, but he had him. He had him against the fence and started beating him with elbows. Ouch! Have fun with that.
Oh man, I'm glad we figured out that beer.
Almost right in time too. We're at like 55 minutes.
It was bothering me. Oh, we are.
Yeah, that would have.
Whoa.
That would have made me. Good thing I know how to Google, and use my brain.
Yeah, man, Google's a great thing. I don't even know what we talked about. What did we talk about?
Talked about fights.
Yeah,
Talked about
we talked
fights.
Yeah, we did. We talked about. We definitely talked about the NFL draft. Let's make sure we double touch on that.
Shit happened.
It's important. Yeah, the Broncos got 2 wide receivers, and the Eagles made a poor choice on quarterbacks. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah,
it might have been a good choice. I guess we'll find out. Yep, we'll find out next time on this episode
Get you some.
of Here's the Dog. Get you some. I don't even know what episode is this. We didn't even say. I like to say it every time.
Or
I don't know. Hold on.
14.
I'm going to episodes. I'm going to episodes, and it is episode. It's episode. It's episode 18, baby. Episode 18. On episode 20, we're doing a giveaway.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So if you listen to this,
you can have it.
Want it. Let us know. You can have it.
What's up, y'all? You know who it is. It's your boy Dylan from On and Off the Field with Durf and Dylan. So I'm just coming to let you know, on the RTF Sports Network, this show will now be live from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays. If you go to rtfsportsnetwork.com, you can listen to the show live from there and on our social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram. It's going to be an amazing show that is all about the fans. Also, when you go to rtfsportsnetwork.com, make sure to vote for On and Off the Field as the show of the month for April. If we win that, money is going to charity. You can count on that. What's going on, everybody? Whether you're practicing social distancing of 6 feet up to 6 miles, you can still party with On and Off the Field, where you can listen to the best NFL and charity-based podcasts out there on the RTF Sports Network. You can follow them on Facebook or go to rtfsportsnetwork.com and check out the show Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Looking for the first only girls show right here on the rtfsportsnetwork.com radio network? Stay tuned for sports talk mostly.
In times of need, this is what most insurance sounds like.
Thank you for holding. What's your policy number?
But when you have coverage from AAA, you've got insurance with 3 A's. And that sounds like this.
Thank you for calling AAA. Is everyone okay?
This is the sound of the savings you get on insurance. But this is the sound of AAA savings when you include a membership with your coverage. Insurance with AAA? That's service worth singing about.
Insurance.
So does your insurance sound like insurance? Or does it sound like insurance with AAA? A brand that's been helping members for over 100 years. Visit AAA.com/insurance for a free quote and save up to 20% on auto and home.
Hit well to center field. Deion Sanders going back to the wall, and it is gone. Bo Jackson homers.
It's over, and the Cubs have finally won it all.
Sean Taylor will glide to the end zone.
Let's go! Off the face-off, the Capitals have won it. 81-point game,
and gentlemen, you have witnessed the second greatest scoring performance in NBA history.
Thank you for tuning in to episode 11 of the FBAS podcast. That is Facebook All Sports Podcast. You are either streaming us, you've downloaded us from Spotify or Stitcher or iTunes, or maybe you're listening to us live on the RTF Sports Network. Either way, thank you very much. My name is Wayne G. I'm joined as always by Jesse B. and Dan Sully Sullivan. What's going on, boys?
What's up, family and friends?
Hey, how we doing, everybody? How we doing? Welcome to the podcast.
Like we've been doing the past few weeks, we are recapping the most recent episodes of The Last Dance, the Bulls documentary on ESPN. This week we are tackling episodes 7 and 8. There's only 2 left to go.
Oh, don't mention how few there are to go, Wayne.
Well, jumping into episode 7, I think it's interesting. It starts off with a press conference. We get Jerry Krause. He's asked a question about whether or not there's backstabbing with contracts and whatnot, and Phil Jackson. And he says, there is no backstabbing. You got that? You understand me? And he gets all like tense, and he leaves and storms out of the press conference. And somebody says, nice job, Craig. And I really thought it was a sarcastic, nice job, Craig.
That'd be our funny suit-wearing guy, Craig Sager. He was given that question there, and it certainly set off a tense atmosphere. Not that the Bull season wasn't already tense, and Jerry Krause and everything involving him wasn't already tense. But yeah, Craig Sager had to go ahead and ask about the extra tense moments of that season and if there was any backstabbing going on. And I think it's certainly reminiscent of us here in New England, Wayne, of Bill Belichick. And when he gets asked a question he doesn't want to answer, he moves it right along, or he ends the interview and the press conference right away.
Now, the episode goes straight from the press conference into, we knew this was coming. It's the 93 season. They've won their 3rd championship, and we're going to talk about Michael Jordan's dad's death. Now, they start off by mentioning the relationship that Mike had with his father, that they were best friends, they were confidants, that James Jordan knew everything that Mike was thinking and everything that he was planning on doing, and he was the only one. He was the only person that close to Mike.
Yeah, we started this documentary with Mike scraping and clawing just to get his dad's attention. And now, like you mentioned, James is his right-hand man. That's his confidant. He's there through everything up until, unfortunately, he's not.
Yeah, I mean, we all knew this was going to happen, and we knew this happened in life, and I think we were all just kind of waiting for when was this episode going to air. And man, this was such a heavy episode, and 7 and 8 so far have been my favorite episodes. There's such an emotional aura of this episode, and it just went into so much behind-the-scenes stuff, and I just loved it so much. His relationship with his father, you know, I don't know your guys' relationship with your fathers, but my dad was one of my best friends in the whole world, and I can only imagine the pain, and God, it just hurt. It hit me right in the feels.
Yeah, such a dark, intense introduction to episode 7.
It is, and they go into the news story when they break it that Michael Jordan's dad has been missing for 3 weeks. They say that he went to go visit some friends or something like that. He never came home. They can't locate him. They do find his car. It's all smashed up and it's stripped down. And then on August 13th, 1993, they find James's body in a creek, and it's confirmed that he is dead. The authorities arrest 2 18-year-old kids who apparently James got tired, pulled over to catch a few winks of sleep, and these kids broke into his car, killed him, robbed him, hid the car, threw the body into a creek, and took off. And it's mind-boggling to me. I still don't understand exactly what it was all about. I mean, were these kids targeting him, or did they just happen to drive by this parking lot and they say, hey, let's go check out that car? I mean, who knows what happened?
I'll never be able to wrap my mind around how you take someone's life. We certainly see some connections, some strong comparisons between James and Michael. You know, James was off playing golf. That's where Dolores thought he was. That's where Mike thought he was. And then we see him pull over to the side of the road, and he's driving a real nice vehicle. Sully, what's he driving?
A burgundy Lexus, man.
Yeah, so in that vehicle, he pulls over. He wants to get some rest. And these 2 schmucks, these 2 just thugs, 18-year-olds, come over and they get involved and they tear up the vehicle and they murder Mr. Jordan.
It was such a crazy situation. The parking lot and area they kept showing looked so secluded and just so out of the way. Like, I don't know. Granted, this is also 93 and not 2020, so, you know, it's obviously different and less developed, but still, it just seemed like such a random place to just pull over and such a random place to just go looking to find a victim to for these 18-year-olds. I don't know. It just all seems so weird, and it was just so tragic. I mean, just so tragic.
Nobody really knew what it was all about. Everyone was puzzled by it, and the media decided to speculate that maybe Michael Jordan and his gambling debts that they talked about last episode might have led to his father's death. And Mike took that really hard because now not only did he lose his best friend and his father, but now he's got people saying, well, it was your fault for gambling so much.
Yeah, it's absolutely shameful. We talked last episode about Sam Smith and his book, The Jordan Rules. We see him in this episode say it's despicable. You know, for a guy that took shots at Jordan, he would never take that low of a blow. So it's absolutely shameful what the media would do to stir up things about such a tragic moment in Michael Jordan's life.
I actually agree. Granted, conspiracy theories fly and everybody's got a theory and things like that, but to not have evidence and to kind of attack this person, and like they mentioned, you know, it almost places the blame on Michael. And think about that. Like, your father just gets murdered so tragically, and now people try to blame you for his death. I just couldn't even imagine what he was feeling.
Mike was 30 years old when this happened. I'll let you guys know I'm the youngest guy here, and I'm 30 years old. I'd be lost without my dad, without that father figure, without that parent. So, you know, to imagine what this guy was going through where he was on top of the world. We talked about it in this most recent episode, how he was getting absolutely mobbed by fans, by media. And so to be in that type of position and to not have your role model, your father with you, is just absolutely appalling.
Mike was already contemplating retirement and walking away from the game. He had talked to his dad about it and told him, you know, I'm thinking about giving this thing up after this championship run. And this just may have been what finally pushed him over the edge. He says, I'm going to retire. He talks to the owner, Jerry Reinsdorf, and he says, I'm done. I'm out. And Jerry Reinsdorf says, you cannot retire until you talk to Phil Jackson. So he sets up a meeting in his office. It's just Phil and Mike. And apparently from other documentaries I've watched, Mike says, Phil, what sort of challenge can you present to me? What can you offer me for me to challenge myself that I haven't already done? And Phil couldn't think of anything. So he just said, I guess it's time to move on.
Yeah, and in a moment we do actually hear a quote we do hear from Phil Jackson is, I think that Mike would be robbing society of his gift, but he understands. He doesn't know what Mike's going through, but he can't second guess Mike here. He can't tell him what not to do.
They have so much respect for each other, and you just kind of got to believe that he knows what he's doing and he's making the right decision for his family and things like that.
That got announced at the baseball stadium, as you mentioned, Wayne, and we know that both Jerry Reinsdorf and Jerry Krause had a connection to that stadium and that team. Do we think that either one of those two had a part in the leak of him retiring from basketball and jumping into baseball?
I don't think anyone in the front office did. I think it's one of those things where the Bulls were calling a press conference and the people at the baseball game said it's really just speculation that he's going to announce his retirement. So I think it might have been something that people who were on the inside besides Mike, maybe he'd talked to some people, but somebody knew that he was already thinking about it. And just when they called this press conference, it seemed to make sense that maybe this is what it's about.
Yeah, that press conference was a foregone conclusion, and they talked about the list of people they had at that table and how they mentioned it looked just like the Last Supper, and that was just very reminiscent to me because I've seen that picture in so many places, and to imagine Jordan at the center of that table retiring from the league for the very first time, that was a quote that will stick with me from that episode for sure.
Some people say that the reason that he was walking away from the game, the gambling, the murder of his father, David Stern said, you're going to be suspended for the next 18 months. They asked David Stern about this, and he vehemently denied it. He said that's just absolutely ridiculous. And even one of the reporters said, why would the biggest capitalist that maybe ever existed devalue his entire league to suspend a guy? It doesn't make any sense. And even Mark Vansel, who wrote the book Rare Air, he goes on and says, the summer before in Barcelona, Mike told me he was going to do this. He said, I'm going to shock the world. I'm going to quit and go play baseball. I asked him when. He said, I'd do it now, but neither Magic or Larry has won 3 in a row, so I got to do that first.
Jesse had laid a little bit into this conspiracy theory that David Stern kind of pushed Michael out and gave him the retirement idea instead of this being a suspension. But I don't think the whole Michael comes back works unless, you know, the baseball goes on strike. So I don't think they could have planned that out accordingly kind of thing. And like you had mentioned, I don't see any way David Stern devalues all the other franchises and his overall league in general. So I don't know if I put too much stock into this one, but obviously the people are going to chat.
From what we've seen from the Last Dance documentary so far, Mike has the highest competitive drive amongst any athlete out there, and I certainly lean to where the parts of the different documentary that Wayne has seen or heard from, where Phil's not able to present Mike with a challenge or a new goal. So I think that's where Mike really had to step away from the game. As much as I love juicy conspiracy theories, I don't think there's any truth to the fact that he was pushed out of the league.
And like he had promised, he does decide to go play baseball for the Chicago White Sox. It's after 93. He wins the championship, and he's telling his dad before his dad died, hey, I want to go play baseball. And his dad said, do it now. Do it. You're 30 years old. Go do it. So he starts off in Double-A, which they said that normally somebody like Mike would start off in Single-A or rookie ball, but they just didn't have the press accommodations because they knew that anywhere Michael Jordan goes to play baseball is going to be mobbed with press, and they just needed more accommodations for the press. So he had to start in Double-A.
Yeah, it's good that they mentioned that. Baseball is the sport that probably has the most development time necessary. That's why there are so many different leagues and farm system tiers. So for him to start out pretty darn close to major league level, I'm not sure how close it was in that era, to be honest, but he was certainly, I think, pushed ahead because of the media availability and the marketability of him, and not where he needed to be to really gain his baseball tactics back, his skills.
Yeah, you mentioned he was put where he was because of the media, not because of his skills, and I actually think it was detrimental to his baseball career and to his outcome in general. I think if he'd have gotten placed at a lower league where he should have been, he would have been able to develop his hit tool a lot better. He would have been able to develop his ability to hit a curveball and an off-speed pitch in general. They mentioned how he got off to a hot start in that 13-game hitting streak, and then they mentioned the coach says, when's it going to come, when's it going to come, and boom, then he got hit with his first breaking ball, and that's all he would see, and his average plummeted, and people just stopped throwing him a fastball. And obviously in lower leagues you can develop that, and I just didn't think he had the ability to because of where they stuck him.
Michael Jordan is 6'6". He's a physical freak even for that time period. So to imagine him staying there at bat, there's not too many ball players now or in the history that aren't pitchers like Randy Johnson that are standing at his height. So I'm certainly sure that pitchers probably had an easier time throwing at a strike zone to a guy that's 6'6".
There's definitely a bigger strike zone to throw to, but I think a lot of it has to do with the lack of hand-eye coordination, the lack of experience playing baseball, more so than his height. I know that Dan, we talked earlier off the air about the fact that a lot of those bigger guys are power hitters, and Michael was more of a speed player, like a leadoff hitter, and so maybe that had something to do with it. Like, he's not going to hit a bunch of bombs, so you can't strike out 200 times and only hit 3 home runs. You got to get on base so you can steal bases.
Yeah, exactly, Wayne. The guys who are 6'6" are also 250, 260, and they may hit that body weight, 250, 260, but they're going to hit 35, 40 home runs, and that just wasn't Michael's game. So it was tougher for him to adjust, and his trainer mentions changing his body from a basketball body to a baseball body, and that's because, surprisingly, baseball is really a lower body predicated game. A lot of your power and drive comes from your lower body and your core and things like that. And basketball, Michael mentions later on in the episode, or maybe even episode 8, it's a shoulders and chest driven game. And so he had to redevelop his body. And a lot of people don't realize that just can't happen overnight. Bo Jackson was so great at both sports because football is a power driven, lower body, core based sport. So that's where I think the difference lied for Michael.
Sully, you mentioned that the strike is what pushed Jordan back to the NBA. If that strike doesn't happen, how soon do you think Jordan gets to the league? And should he have actually gotten to the league? Would he have had the skills to get to the major leagues?
I do think he would have eventually gotten to the league. For all of his negativity with his batting average, he was able to drive runners in, and that's a valued commodity. I also think, Terry Francona mentions it in the episode. You give this guy his due practice and give him 1,500 at-bats in a year and let him get better, and he's eventually going to make it to the big leagues. I don't think he ever would have been a 280 hitter or anything like that, but I definitely think he would have had a spot on a ball club.
So Sports Illustrated comes out with this whole article. Right on the cover, it says, Michael Jordan and the Chicago White Sox are embarrassing the game of baseball. And it's funny that after this article comes out, Michael Jordan never again talks to Sports Illustrated.
Oh yeah, Sports Illustrated absolutely did MJ dirty. SI is one of the most iconic magazines that a sports fan can collect, and to know that the GOAT of basketball just decided he was going to shut them out for a portion of his career due to them just really taking shots where they didn't need to. He really had a problem with them not coming to him and getting his opinion and feedback, as opposed to them just taking shots and writing some real negative stuff about him.
I think that's what he took the most offense about, just not even coming to him and even getting his side of it or even asking him anything. And God, Sports Illustrated, whoever made that decision's got to be kicking themselves in the teeth right now. I mean, to go this whole time without ever getting another comment or article from him is just nuts.
At this point in the episode, they do the little flash forward on the timeline. They go back to 1998, and we get to find out about Mike the Tyrant. Basically, it's the Nets game before the game one of the playoffs. He says, we'd have to be asleep to lose to these guys. And they almost do. It goes into overtime and they end up winning. Tony Kukoc has said, after a bad game, everybody is on high alert with Michael.
Oh yeah, Jordan ends up winning that game with an and one dunk and beats the John Calipari-led New Jersey Nets.
I didn't know John Calipari was the coach of the Nets there. He gets around, apparently. And Tony Kukoc mentions everybody was on high alert, like you said, and you had to be. I mean, could you imagine just getting on Jordan's bad side? Like, we see him when he's in the midst of winning championships, he looks scary. Like, getting on his bad side would be just, whoo!
Well, one of the people who takes the brunt of that bad side we see is Scott Burrell. They do a whole segment about how Scott Burrell is his whooping boy. He razzes on him. He calls him out for all kinds of stuff. Mike actually says Scott was a really talented guy. He just lacked that commitment and that seriousness. I was trying to get him to get fired up and fight with me, and he's just too nice of a guy. He would never do that.
We know Mike would have said anything, and I think specifically he would have said anything about Scott because Scotty Burrell is the one guy that Mike knows that's actually better than him at baseball.
Not just that. I think Mike wants to just bring it out of you. Whatever it is, Mike wants to bring it out. And he wants to test his guys and to make sure they're battle tested. He mentions the trenches and gets war a lot. And, we see him get into an argument with another teammate in the next episode. And that teammate stands up for himself and mentions how the relationship was never better. And I think, Mike wanted to see that from Scott, and he never did. And I actually think it probably hurt Scott in the long run. If he'd have stood up for it, I bet Michael would have taken him under his wing a little more.
We see Scott Burrell actually say on the documentary that Mike wanted to push everybody to play on his level, but Mike didn't understand that he was the only one playing at his level.
I guess it got so bad that at one point Phil Jackson had to tell Michael Jordan, or maybe at several points, he had to tell Michael Jordan to dial it down a notch. And Judd Bushler had said, we were teammates, but we were afraid of him. And one of the things I noticed was in this series, we've seen several times that 98 Bulls team, their center was lottery pick Luke Longley. And they mentioned him twice in this episode. And it's the first time he's really mentioned, but we don't hear from him at all in any of these episodes. And from reading about it, I guess it has to do with a fractured relationship between him and Michael.
I'm certainly going to do my research after this, guys, and I want to look more into the Luke Longley and MJ beef because I didn't see it myself. I didn't notice it. I appreciate you pointing it out, Wayne, because I've certainly heard his name before in reading the books and seeing the highlights. But yeah, it's weird that we're seeing so many people give their honest feedback and we're not seeing him interviewed at all.
I'm really interested to see if the show actually touches on it at all and to see why he's not a part of this. Maybe he just didn't want to be or things like that. But if there is something behind the scenes that, I personally don't know about, obviously you guys aren't aware of any public beef that Jordan and Luke Longley had. But one can only imagine the way Jordan was and the buttons he pushed, that he could have pushed the wrong ones for a couple teammates and Luke might have just been that one.
The trivia before the commercial, we talk about how they don't really give you enough time to answer the question. So I had to pause my Hulu while I was watching it. And it said that the first year without Michael Jordan, the Bulls still had 3 All-Stars on the team. Who were they? And I knew Scotty, I knew Horace Grant, and I couldn't think of the third one, but I figured it had to be a guard. And I didn't realize it was actually B.J. Armstrong. He was still on the team. I thought he was gone by that point.
I didn't pause, I didn't cheat, but to be honest, I was shocked to see that Horace was on there. They seemed to take shots at him earlier on in the documentary, calling him, somewhat soft and emotional. So I was surprised to see that he was one of the ones that made it. Didn't shock me at all to see Scotty, and always nice to see B.J. Armstrong getting a little shine.
Speaking of B.J. Armstrong, a little foreshadowing in the next episode, when he has that light-up game in the playoffs.
It was a perfect segue into the next segment of the episode, which was Life Without Michael. They flash back again to 1994, the first season without Jordan. Scottie Pippen's now the leader, the MVP candidate, and he's kind of taken a different leadership role than Michael. He's not screaming at people. He's not getting on people. He's actually being more supportive. He's pumping them up when they do good. If they don't do well, he's like, hey, don't worry about it. You'll get it the next one. And guys just seem to really appreciate Scotty's leadership style.
Yeah, the sidekick had the opportunity to go ahead and rise up to be the leader, that soft-spoken leader that we know him to be, and he really did it out on the floor. The guy averaging 22 points, 9 boards, 6 dimes, and just under 3 steals a game that season. That's incredible.
Yeah, Scotty really took that point forward role and kind of made it into the stat stuffer we see today with the LeBrons and the Giannis's and things like that, where they just kind of run the team. And that's kind of the perfect role for Scotty. He was so good at it, and, he ran that triangle to a T and was just perfect at it. And Kukoc had a fantastic rookie season. They mentioned he's a typical European. and he's just fundamentally sound and no defense. And that actually, reminds us, I think, of a lot of European guys that were like that. Dirk obviously comes to mind as the one guy who is the best European, I think, of all time. But Scotty was just so perfect for what they had him do.
Yeah, Tony Kukoc among that first wave of Europeans we see. And Wayne, I'm sure you can give us some more Europeans we got to see in that era.
Well, earlier, before that era, Drazen Petrovic of the New Jersey Nets was one of the great sharpshooters of the NBA. Detlef Schrempf was a back-to-back sixth man with the Seattle Supersonics. He came from Germany. Rick Smits was in the league. The Duncan Dutchman is from Holland. So there were a few guys, but definitely I think Tony Kukoc was the start of like a wave of young European guys coming over, not so much, these veteran guys coming over at 35. Now we get to the Bulls and the Knicks. They're down 0-2 to the Knicks, and Patrick Ewing hits a shot to tie the game, and Phil Jackson draws up a play where Scottie Pippen's taking the ball out of bounds, and he's going to pass it in. The ball's going to get swung around. Tony's going to get open for a three-pointer, which he does. He's going to knock it down, which he does, and he did several times that year. But the interesting thing was Scottie Pippen saying, I am not coming into the game. I'm sitting out. And after the game, Phil telling him he let the team down, Bill Cartwright being tears and saying, Scotty, Pip, you quit on us. You let us down. And Scotty's crying. And so Michael Jordan called Phil Jackson after that game. He said, Scotty's never going to live this down.
Yeah, we continue to see the brutal honesty and the takes that these guys have. Phil Jackson letting Scotty know, I can't believe you did that to us. You quit on us. And then Steve Kerr mentioning that this is a stain on Scotty's career for the rest of his life.
And I think it does. I think it follows him everywhere. We talk about how great Scotty is, and I think we all agree, he's probably a top 25 player. At the same time, when comparing him to other small forwards now, I have Kawhi Leonard ahead of him, and this quit reason is one of it. And, we'll bring up that there's arguing the ability that Kawhi Leonard quit on his team for a whole season, but, that's, I think, semantics. And he was more upset with the medical staff and the higher-ups than he was, with the team and the coach and having a pout attack because he didn't get the last shot. I just think it's so surprising, as Scotty was such a great teammate throughout his entire career. You never heard any whispers how he was a bad teammate. And then he just says, I quit and I won't go out there. And good for Tony Kukoc, though, who just got blasted through all this, the dream team and all that nonsense, comes over, has the rookie year, and then hits that shot for just the sweet icing on the cake. Good for him.
They flash forward to 1998. The Nets are done with. They lose 3-0 to the Bulls. Scott Burrell scores 23 points in that game 3, which I think that they were trying to paint it as like, see, this is why Mike rode this guy, because this is what they needed him to do. But he just got a hot hand. It isn't like he gradually got better through Mike's tutelage. He just had a hot hand for one game. It had nothing to do with Mike. And then they asked Michael Jordan. They said, did your attitude cost you your nice guy status? And he says, winning has a price. I pulled some people along who maybe didn't want to get pulled along. I challenged some people who maybe didn't want to be challenged. This is how I play. If you don't want to play that way, then don't. And then he gets teary-eyed and he says, break. And I thought that was really weird.
Seeing my man MJ get choked up, it choked me up, I'm not going to lie. I want to touch on Scott Burrell. He was 9 of 11 that game, so the man was having a really hot hand. But yeah, MJ really took offense to people calling him out on his defense and then calling him out as a bad teammate. I think anybody would. That really hurts somebody to know that I'm a bad teammate and nobody wants to play with me. So this is, after the Jordan rules came out, and he, to me, is trying to get ahead of what people are maybe going to think of him after this documentary comes out, where he's a superstar player, but he's kind of a dick.
This part of the documentary actually kind of, this is, I think, what I spent the most time thinking about in between our time of recording, is why he had this emotional break he had, kind of at this point. And the only thing I can really come up with personally is Michael really values winning, I think, more than a lot of people realize. And I think Michael really values this drive more than a lot of people realize. And it's, for all the people who have seen Westworld, it's his cornerstone. It's kind of what he builds his life upon. And so when somebody challenges that, to see that emotional break from Michael, I think is just, God, it's so beautiful to see almost, in such a weird way, just to see that vulnerability from a superstar that we hold in the highest regard. We almost think he's godlike, and to see him be that vulnerable is just so beautiful to see.
Episode 8 starts off all about Michael's self-motivation, and it really starts off with B.J. Armstrong. They go into that second round series with the Hornets. They win game 1, and B.J. Armstrong, he's interviewed, he says, the Bulls were a better team than us, and they knew they were, but I knew those guys, and I felt like we knew how to beat them. And then B.J. goes off and has a great game 2, and ends it by screaming at Jordan and Pippen and the Bulls bench. And I thought it was funny that Michael was like, B.J. should have known better.
We've talked about MJ and his easy ability to be able to just pick up a chip and turn anything into a scenario where he's going to come at you. And BJ being a former teammate, he talks about how he got his moment. MJ was going to make sure that that's all it was, baby. It was just a moment.
Yeah, I mentioned the foreshadowing BJ's game, and that's all it was. It was one game, because boy should have known better, and Michael's right. I mean, why would you ever give this man something to fight for? You know what I mean? Like, just let him do what he has to do. He already is the greatest. Why give him a chip? It just didn't make sense, but the rest is history.
Well, that's when they go into the whole history of Mike self-motivating, and somebody says, do you know the LeBradford Smith story? And I was like, I'd never heard it. So they're like, well, LeBradford Smith was on the Bullets, and he goes for 37 points against Jordan, and didn't talk trash or anything the whole game. He just happened to have a really hot hand. He scores 37 points. And then on his way out of the gym, Mike says, the story goes, he said, nice game, Mike. And Michael says, tomorrow we're playing those guys, home and home. He goes, in the first half, I'm scoring as many points as he just scored in this whole game. And he went out and he scored 36 points in the first half. And then years later, Michael was like, nah, he never said that. I just pretended he did to get myself motivated.
Yeah, just adding to the legend of Mike doesn't care what he needs to do. He's going to make something up. He's going to look at you the wrong way. He's going to say that George Karl passed him up at dinner one night. He's going to take all these little itty-bitty things that nobody else would make mountains out of these molehills. But Mike's gonna. And Mike's going to make you eat your words, even if you didn't even say them.
Like I mentioned earlier, his cornerstone and his core beliefs, and I think this kind of attests to that. The fact that he lied to motivate it, and he could do that. I mean, that's kind of sociopathic. I mean, to be able to convince yourself to just go to a different level because of something completely made up, I mean, that's incredible. I mean, the guy's just a machine.
I like that in the locker room after that game with BJ Armstrong, they show Mike kind of squeezing a bat, and he says, I wonder if they're going to talk trash at the start of the game when it's 0-0. It's easy to talk trash when you're winning, but it's a lot harder to talk trash when you're tied or if you're losing. And I thought that was interesting because I personally, as a basketball player, I talk trash more when I'm losing because I use that to motivate myself. But it's funny that he's right, that when you're losing, you zip it up.
Yeah, motivation is going to work a little different for everybody. We have spoken about how we all have played sports in one capacity or another. So I'm sure we've all have motivated each other, or we've had somebody motivate us. But I don't think any of us have gone to the point that Mike has to make up these stories.
I've never gone that far, and I'm with you, Wayne. I'm talking shit from the start to the finish of the game. I don't care if I'm down by 30 or I'm up by 30. I'm talking shit. That's just what I like to do, especially on the football field. You definitely see a tone down in shit talking when somebody's getting their ass kicked, Well,
the Bulls end up winning the series. They win 3 in a row. They win the series 4-1. They go on to the Pacers, and that's when we get that little flashback wheel again. It goes back to Michael Jordan's return from baseball, which, Dan, you had mentioned had something to do with the baseball strike, that if the strike doesn't happen, Michael's still playing, but he wouldn't cross the picket line.
Yeah, which I hold a ton of respect for Mike, and this is why I think, Sports Illustrated especially, and all these people who attacked Mike for just trying to go out there and do something because he was a superstar. No, Mike loved the game of baseball, and Mike had a ton of respect for the game of baseball, and Mike could have easily crossed the picket line and played still, and, he held true to his word and stuck with his guys and his teammates.
Yeah, it does kind of remind me of earlier on in the documentary when he didn't want to get too involved in any political issues. And here he has a chance to really dip in his toe into something that's controversial, being a scab player, a replacement player. And he doesn't want to do that. So it's very stand-up of him. And he's not the only one that wanted MJ back in the NBA.
Now, they didn't mention that at this time, he gets back into playing basketball because he plays in Scottie Pippen's charity basketball game, which had Pippen and Penny Hardaway and Grant Hill and Jason Kidd and all the NBA stars. They had this charity game in Chicago, and he invited Mike to play. And Mike was like, yeah, sure, I'll play. Scores 55 points and is the MVP of the game. And now all of a sudden it's like he's not playing baseball, so he calls up BJ Armstrong, which is funny. The buddies are now, right? And he says, hey, why don't I join you for breakfast? And they have breakfast. He goes, hey, why don't I come to practice with you? It'll be fun. And BJ's like, oh, you're too old. You've been out of the game too long. You can't play anymore. He said before they know it, they're playing one-on-one. And that's when we get to see that iconic image of Scottie Pippen pointing at the bottom of his Jordan. Is it a 10? Jordan 10? He's like giving the come hither.
Yeah, that image of Scottie pointing down at the shoe is almost as iconic as the press release that Jordan had. So it's super iconic to me. It's definitely something that I'll remember. And the poking and prodding that B.J. Armstrong and the other teammates had to do to get the gears moving in Michael Jordan, to get him wanting to compete and prove something in the NBA again, knowing that a year and a half had passed, his skills, at least basketball-wise, had diminished some, and there was some young, fresh talent in the NBA ready to challenge him.
How true to Michael Jordan fashion is it he goes to another person's charity event game and balls out and takes the MVP? Like, most charity events are set up for whose charity event is going to, like, let's feed Scottie Pippen the ball. It's his charity event kind of thing. Michael shows up, scores 55, takes the glory. I mean, like, that's just true Michael Jordan fashion.
MJ loves that double nickel.
Now, they mentioned that when Jordan comes back at this point, that the Bulls could have extended Horace Grant, but they chose not to, and he goes to the Orlando Magic. And, Mike says in the episode, we flash back to kind of him talking about his dad. He said that he felt naked being there without his dad watching his game because his dad was at almost every single game.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be super difficult to lose someone that had been so supportive, someone who had been there through the thick and thin while you're growing up in the league and becoming that mega star that you are. And to not have him there to watch, your reintroduction into the league, to see you set those new goals for yourself, I'm sure it was immensely difficult for him.
Well, I think one of the more iconic things that Michael mentioned that I forgot to mention about his dad's death was you got to try to find the positives out of the negatives. And when he first quit, his dad had seen him play his last basketball game. And I think that actually meant a lot to Michael. And now, so he comes back, and now he's playing, and this is the first game he's ever played that his dad's never seen. Or dad didn't have the chance to see, you know what I mean? And God, I can only imagine the weight that would feel. I mean, like we mentioned, you said your dad wasn't your best friend. My dad was, and he was so integral into my love for sports and, my love for Pete Rose and these things like that. And I can only imagine having to do something like that with him not there would just be heartbreaking.
Now, he doesn't wear number 23 because that was the last number his dad saw him wear. So now we get to see he's wearing number 45. And the thing is, Steve Kerr mentions in this game that they're in Indiana. He said it feels like a playoff game. It's just electric because it's Michael's first game back. And Michael comes out, he struggles, he's bricking shots, he scores 19 points or something like that. They lose 103-96. I remember watching this game, and I remember him being on the cover of Sports Illustrated shortly after, even though he probably didn't talk to them for the interview. And this was the first blog I ever wrote. I was 14 years old, and I wrote a blog about Michael Jordan being a ball hog in that game.
Yeah, we're talking about the Pacers in that era, and we know that Reggie Miller is part of that era, and, he really wanted to make a name for himself against Jordan.
He did. I think everyone wanted to beat Michael Jordan. They felt like he wasn't the same player, and they took advantage of that for sure. Now, 6 days later, they're playing against the Atlanta Hawks, and Michael Jordan hits a game winner at the buzzer. I thought it was funny that the announcer was like, he's officially back. And I'm like, why? Because he hit a game winner? He still only had 19 or 20 points. It isn't like he went out and dropped 55 like he did the following game at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, when he came back, I would say at his best, he was probably 75% of who he actually is. And 75% of MJ is still very, very good. But again, we're talking about a revamped league with some young, fresh players, some things that changed on his team, and of course, things that changed on all the other teams. So he had new challenges ahead. And so I don't think he was even 80% of himself.
I mean, I completely agree with you. I don't think he was even close. And, I mentioned this earlier, and he mentioned this again in the episode. They're two different bodies, and basketball is such a high-caloric, high-intensity, high-winded sport where you're running a ton, and we all know baseball is the complete opposite. Baseball players sit around and eat sunflower seeds and dip and drink during games. Baseball is the complete opposite. So this is a complete shock to his body, and it's just a testament to the athlete he was. I mean, to be able to jump back, I know we give Bo all kinds of credit for being one of the greatest athletes of all time, for being able to play two sports at such a high level. I don't think we give Michael Jordan enough credit for being one of the best athletes of all time. To be able to jump back into the sport and still not necessarily dominate the way he did, but play at such a high level is just so incredible.
I would say that I don't think Michael Jordan doesn't get credit as an athlete. I think he's always one of the top athletes of all time. And I think Bo Jackson is definitely a far superior athlete, not just because he played two sports. I mean, that's only part of it. It's the fact that not only was he an all-star in both sports, the fact that he in college was a NCAA Division I decathlete. And the first time he ever threw a discus with no experience, he set the school record in the discus throw. He ran 100 meters in 11.5. I mean, he was just a freak athlete.
No, I'm not discounting Bo Jackson in any way. What I mean is, so on FBAS, we do these drafts, and one of them is the greatest athlete draft. And, unfortunately, Michael Jordan is usually not drafted high in these because it's usually the best athlete is viewed as kind of a two-sport guy or something like that, or a multi-sport guy. So, Jim Thorpe gets a ton of credit in that. Just a lot of these other guys. And I think just we don't give Michael enough credit for going back to basketball and playing it at such a high level.
They play the Orlando Magic in the Eastern Conference semifinals, and the Bulls are up 91-90. Jordan's dribbling the ball up. Nick Anderson steals it from him. Penny Hardaway passes it to Horace Grant. Now the Bulls are down. Then Michael Jordan gets a chance to take the game-winning shot. Instead, he passes it off. So what do you Jordan/LeBron haters, say about that? And he throws it out of bounds. And then after the game, Nick Anderson says, well, 45 isn't 23. So what happens next game?
The passing up the shot, I could not actually believe when I saw it. I don't remember seeing that live or, watching that. Going back and watching that, I mean, you can clearly tell the man was shooketh at the time. And to see that from Michael Jordan, it's just so breathtaking to see. It kind of took me back, and I was at a loss for words as to why he would give that shot up, because it looked like he had the shot. It looked like it's a shot he would put up 10 out of 10 times in any other game. So obviously the man had some confidence issues at the time.
Sully, were you and your family down in South Florida not watching this game? Were you guys not pulling for the Magic?
Honestly, basketball is not a big sport in my family. Baseball was always the sport that kind of ruled the house, and then soccer was actually the second sport that ruled the house. And so basketball wasn't something I picked up until, I was probably a junior in high school, and that was just me alone. So no, we weren't watching any basketball.
Well, Michael puts number 23 back on, and the Bulls win 104-94. And the Magic, though, end up winning the series 4-2. Horace Grant's carted off on the shoulders, and Michael Jordan says this is one of his lowest points as a professional basketball player. Walking off the court, Tim Grover asks him, he's like, all right, Mike, when do you guys want to get together this offseason? Mike's like, I'll see you tomorrow.
Horace Grant, what a goofball getting that Rudy-like cart off the basketball court. You didn't even win the finals at that point, my man.
Yeah, but I think for him, that's obviously his finals. He felt really slighted. We all mentioned that. We don't think he felt like he got his due props in Chicago, and I think he felt slighted when they chose not to extend him. So to be able to come back and beat that team, I think was so big for him, and to beat Michael, and I'm doing air quotes here because we've all said that really wasn't Michael Jordan. We all saw what happened. He comes out of the offseason, he dedicates himself, and, comes back and just puts the stomp down.
The whole next section of the documentary is about that off season. It's August 1995. Michael's filming Space Jam, and the Warner Brothers said, we're going to build you a state-of-the-art training facility with a full-length court and weights and everything. And Tim Grover's there with them every day. They invite the best players in the NBA. Again, Penny, Reggie Miller, Dennis Rodman, whoever, Amare Stoudemire, whoever's playing at that time. If you played in the NBA and you were an all-star, you probably showed up to Michael Jordan's Warner Brothers Dome and played with him. And the whole time he was there, I thought was great that not only was he just playing there to get in shape, he was watching these guys play and he was taking mental notes and making scouting reports on them.
Yeah, MJ, the mental savage, the assassin. I can't believe you missed the biggest guy there at the Jordan Dome, Sean Bradley. What a goofball that guy was running down the court.
The enormous Mormon.
He was probably there just because he was in a movie. They didn't want to invite Sean Bradley's ass.
Well, those guys that were there, the Reggie Millers and other players that were there commenting on it, they were saying, man, this guy's out there putting hours into the film process, coming here, working out in the morning, playing ball with us, and kicking our ass. So just a great vantage point to see what Warner Brothers was willing to do to make Jordan happy so they could put out that movie that, him and the Looney Tunes, man, they set off the world. And Sully, you drafted them in our movie draft.
Damn right I did. I love that movie, man. If you grew up at that time, even now, because we're all showing it to our kids, if you got kids, it's such an iconic movie, and it was really well done. Bill Murray's hilarious. Larry Bird's got the cameo on the golf course. It was just a really well done movie, I thought. And we knock kind of Michael a lot, and we obviously give him his due praise, but man, the man had a work ethic second to none, and I think if anybody's listening and wondering how to become great at anything, you have to have a work ethic that can't be rivaled, and Michael's shown that, and like you mentioned, Reggie Miller kind of makes that a point.
You guys think that Braun's going to ask all his friends to come out and play basketball against him while he's filming Space Jam 2?
I'm not sure.
I think they'll just want to come out.
LeBron attracts talent. People will go wherever LeBron goes, similar to Michael Jordan, except like we talked about last episode, LeBron's not a dickhead, so he probably attracts more people.
Yeah, and it's just going to be such a hyped kind of, we live in a day and age where it's cool to do shit, and so I think that's where people will go, just because it's cool to go, kind of thing, and not go to train like the real NBA players were doing back then.
Now, they mentioned the 95-96 preseason. Michael Jordan is on a mission. Every single day at training camp is an absolute war with him. And he's like, these guys don't realize that they think they're on the championship Chicago Bulls, that they didn't help us win. Like, these guys are just riding the coattails. So I'm going in there and I'm putting the fire to them to let them know this is what it's like to play in the trenches. And it gets to that point where Phil Jackson is calling some ticky-tack fouls on Michael while he's guarding Steve Kerr. He slams Kerr to the ground and is like, no, that's a foul. They get into a little skirmish and Michael gets kicked out of practice.
don't downplay that skirmish, Wayne. Steve Kerr hits him in his chest, and Michael says he cocks back and punches Steve Kerr right in the eye. I mean, that's not a skirmish. That's a full-on fist fight. And, I mean, I mentioned it earlier, and this is what I was talking about. This is that player that stood up for himself and said, look, you're not going to punk me. I don't care how good you think you are or how good you actually are. I'm a grown-ass man, and this is what I do for a living also. And, to see that out of Steve Kerr, I think that really helped Michael. And Steve Kerr mentions, it made their relationship improve dramatically. Michael felt like he could trust him, and Steve Kerr felt like he could trust Michael. And you guys know in team sports, man, trust is so important. And that's what made this team arguably the best team of all time.
Yeah, we know that Jordan's consistently pushing his teammates to get to the next level because he knows that they're going to face the teams that are going to always play themselves at a higher level. He went through the Pistons of the late 80s and early 90s, and then he went through the Knicks of that same era and the Pacers and Heat. So he's preparing his team, and this is an instance where we didn't see Steve back down, and we actually saw Mike, at least he says it was him, reach out to Steve after and say, hey, man, I screwed up. Can't believe I did that. Let's start over from here. And I think we all know that they gained a different type of respect for each other after that.
Yeah, and Steve Kerr even says, he felt like Michael appreciated him a little bit more. And another story I'd heard about that was Robert Parrish talking about he had played on that Bulls team or one of those Bulls teams that won a championship, and him and Jordan got into a shouting match during one of the practices, and Jordan said something like, I'm going to kick your ass. And Robert Parrish said, let's go. I'm ready to fight right now. And Jordan backed down and didn't do anything. He said that at the end of the day, he didn't think that Jordan really wanted to fight him. Jordan was just pushing him to see how he would react.
About getting ready for the moment.
So the 95-96 season opens in the episode with Jordan lacing up those Air Jordan 11s, the white ones with the black patent leather around the toe that I love so much.
Oh, I just looked him up as well. Sexy.
The Bulls start off 23-2. They end up 72-10. They beat Miami 3-0 in the first round, the Knicks 4-1 in the second round, and then they beat the Orlando Magic in the rematch in the Eastern Conference Finals 4-0, and then it's on to the finals. And they really kind of brush past that to really get to the Sonic series.
Yeah, 11 games to 1 as far as, wins and losses. That's a cakewalk.
Yeah, I wish they would have showed a little bit more. Horace Grant talks about it. He goes, when they go into the series, he says, that team was better. They knew it. They crushed us. I wish they would have gone into it a little bit more, but like you said, they rushed it into the Sonics, series.
So trivia part 2, it says the Bulls have the best regular season combined playoff winning percentage of .870 of any team in history. It said, who is number 2? I didn't need to pause it. I said Golden State Warriors. I couldn't even think of anybody else, and that's who it ended up being.
Yeah, you had to know it was going to be them after the 73-9 season.
Yeah, exactly. Why was that even a question? That was the dumbest shit ever. But, hey, if you didn't get that one, you're not a sports fan, honestly.
That's a trivia question for the old folk.
I got into a pretty heated debate shortly after this episode. There was somebody posted something on the Sports Soup website. It was who would win the Bulls with 72-10 or the Warriors with Kevin Durant, who I know wasn't that 73-win team, but I was kind of trying to be diplomatic about it and say, listen, both those teams play completely differently. They're different types of players. They're different defenses, different offenses. I think it would be a really good series. And there was one guy on there who took offense to me bringing logic to it and really just wanted me to get into a fight with him or something.
How dare you, Wayne, in your stupid logic?
Yeah, so I actually followed that whole comment thread. I don't know if Jesse did. So I actually read everything he was saying and everything you were saying. And honestly, I don't know how you have the patience for that, Wayne. I don't know how you did it. For what this kid was saying, to be fair, he looked 25, so God only knows he probably never even watched a Jordan game live and has no idea, but, he thinks he's an expert. And not only that, the points just you were making made a ton of sense, and he wasn't making any sense, so props to you, man.
So they go to the Sonics series, and speaking of mismatches, they say, are the Sonics the biggest mismatch ever against this Bulls team that was 72-10? And I thought that was kind of unfair to the Sonics because they were the best team in the West.
I had mentioned this earlier in an episode. Me and Patrick Lange from FBAS have got into a fairly heated discussion about this, and I think the greatest mismatch ever was actually the Cavs and the Mavs, and the Mavs actually won, but I think the Cavs were favored in that, or were the heaviest favored team in that series. I think this is a greatly underestimated team. You had already mentioned Detlef Schrempf, 2-time Sixth Man of the Year, Gary Payton Hall of Famer, Sean Kemp Hall of Famer. These guys were extremely talented and, like you said, were the best team in the West, so it wasn't like they were playing an 8-seed or anything like that. So I think they get extremely underrated, and I think it was a really, really good team.
Wayne, flex that muscle. Name another couple players off that team.
Nate McMillan, maybe Dale Curry was on that team.
I like it.
We flash back to that whole Michael's self-motivating. He's out to dinner. George Karl comes into the restaurant, walks past him, doesn't say hello. And Michael's like, that's it. We're crushing these guys.
Again, it doesn't take anything. We didn't hear from George Karl, so who knows if this did happen. I've heard he's not really the friendliest coach, at least from all the NBA players that I obviously talked to. In this situation, we know that Mike doesn't need anything at all to rise his level to the next stage, and I'm sure he told his teammates, and that riled them all up.
Yeah, I'd like to see if this one was true, because if this one is true, then I think this actually is a slight. I think it's very disrespectful for George Karl to walk past Jordan in a restaurant and not say anything. So I actually don't have any problem with Jordan taking offense to this and playing with reckless abandon because of it. Again, I'd like to know if it was really true, because Michael does have a past of making things up. So,
Yeah, if it's true, you're only given the biggest assassin bulletin board material.
Yeah.
George Karl puts Gary Payton, the Defensive Player of the Year, on Michael Jordan.
Well, actually, Gary Payton saw the team was getting torched and said, hey, I'm going to play on him. I'm tired of this. I'm going and putting myself on him. I don't care what you say, Karl. And, he gets the moniker Jordan Stopper, and, I think he deserves every bit of it. I mean, he harassed Jordan in those next 2 games and really almost turned that series around.
After we see that happen, we see one of the most savage human beings on the planet. And I'm not talking about regular Michael Jordan. I'm talking about iPad Jordan. We see the producer of the Last Dance documentary hand Michael Jordan the iPad, and we know from former episodes that this is when he is peak petty. And Michael Jordan laughs when he sees Gary Payton state that if this is how it was to start the series, then it had been a much better series. Jordan says, oh, no, you weren't stopping anything. I was being stopped a little bit in some way, shape, or form, but it wasn't because of that. It was due to the emotion of the time and place.
Yeah, it was just Gary Payton said, we beat him up and he was tired out, and then Jordan just laughed out loud.
I mean, I kind of half agree with Gary Payton. I mean, I think George Karl is a great coach and all, but how do you go into it not putting Gary Payton on him? I know he said he wanted him for his offense, but that's not what Gary Payton's known for. Like, I don't know. It didn't make any sense to me. And we saw in those 2 games that Gary Payton clearly made a difference guarding Michael. And who knows how much it would have mattered. Do I think they would have still won the series? Of course Chicago would have still won the series. But do I think it goes, 3-0 and then, I don't think it ends up like that. I think it's a much more back and forth series. But obviously oversteps a little when he thinks he was tiring Michael out, or Michael at least thinks he does, and Michael finds it very amusing.
Who was guarding Pippen on that Sonics team?
Good question. I mean, I would assume Detlef Schrempf when he comes in, but he's the 6th man, so he's not a starter. Nate McMillan's a really good defensive player. It could have been he might have started on Jordan.
Yeah, that makes sense that, they did have a good defensive backcourt there. Thinking that if you're going to stop Jordan, or at least attempt to, then that's going to allow Pippen to go ahead and blossom like we've seen him do.
So they go to Game 6 of the NBA Finals, June 16th, 1996. It's Father's Day. The Bulls win the championship. It's Jordan's first championship since coming back from baseball. He falls on the floor, and then we see him in the locker room rolling around, sobbing, and this is one of those scenes where it's iconic. I've seen this scene a million times, but I've never had any audio with it. And hearing Jordan take those deep breaths and crying, it got to me.
Oh, absolutely. Like you, Wayne, we've seen these highlights before. We've seen him grab that ball, grip it tight, and lay on the court. But for this time, for us to have the unreleased audio of him sobbing, it brought tears to my eyes. And it was very tough to watch, very difficult to watch. But you had to know that meant the world to him.
I completely agree. I mean, if you're not touched by that moment, and if it didn't move you and truly affect you, then you're a robot. I mean, to hear him just sigh in little pure agony, I mean, just the pain you can imagine he felt to miss his father. And I always kind of thought this. Do you think he lost those 2 games on purpose to win the championship on Father's Day?
I don't think to win the championship on Father's Day, but there were rumors that the Bulls might have lost those 2 games so that they could win the championship at home.
Yeah. And that, I think maybe has a little truth to it. I think that crazy conspiracy theory, obviously nobody wants to lose and things like that, but that team knew how good they were. That team knew if they turned it on for 1 game, they could obviously beat this team. And I think winning it on that day just kind of meant so much to Michael that I think he may have thought about that.
And then the end of the episode is fast forward again to the 1998 Eastern Conference Finals against the Pacers, and Reggie Miller saying, I think the Pacers are the better team. And then it's like credits.
Yeah, one of the better snipers of that era and of all time. He wants to go ahead and plant his flag on, Jordan's not going to stop me. I'm ready to go ahead and retire this boy.
Just another Hall of Famer that kept from not winning a title by the good man MJ.
And that might have been a better team. I mean, Reggie Miller, Rick Smits, Anthony Davis, Dale Davis, Mark Jackson. That was a really loaded team, and they just weren't the Bulls.
Wasn't Chris Mullen on that team too, or no?
He may have been, yeah. I don't know if Jalen Rose was. Yeah, Jalen Rose might have been too. No, he might have been in Denver still.
Yeah, Chris Mullen was on that team too, actually. Yeah.
That's stacked.
Yeah, I mean that team was a really good team then.
So that is the wrap-up of the 2 episodes, episodes 7 and 8. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully you are listening to us on the RTF Sports Network. We're trying to grow the network with shows like ours and other great shows that are on there. We are nominated for Show of the Month, so please do visit the website and vote for us for Show of the Month so that we can win this thing if you do enjoy the show. We have just opened up blogs, the FBAS podcast, me, entered this first blog on there today, and it's pretty fantastic, so check that out as well.
Yeah, we know Wayne likes to hear himself talk and read his own words. So go check that out, guys. We've almost gotten to 500 votes on the Show of the Month, and we still have over a week left to vote. So go ahead and help us get to the best place possible. And then, like Wayne said, some sneaky's coming.
Yeah, thank you, folks, for listening. Make sure to rate, review, catch us every Wednesday, 9 p.m. live. If not, iTunes, Stitcher, all the fun stuff. Again, vote for us, rtfsportsnetwork.com. Click the red banner at the top, then vote for Facebook All Sports. We really appreciate it. Everybody who listens and rates and reviews. If you can comment, give us something you want to talk about, some questions. We're really open guys, so give us a shout. Hey, Kenny, that you back there, man? What's up?
In times of need, this is what most insurance sounds like.
Thank you for holding. What's your policy number?
But when you have coverage from AAA, you've got insurance with 3 A's. And that sounds like this.
Thank you for calling AAA. Is everyone okay?
So does your insurance sound like insurance? Or does it sound like insurance with AAA? A brand that's been helping members for over 100 years. Visit AAA.com/insurance for a free quote on auto and home coverage.
And that was Sports Talk Mostly, the only girl sports show right here on RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Are you ready? I said, are you ready? You're rocking with the heavyweight champs of sports talk.
Don't act like you're not impressed.
Brandon Way and Brandon Rudolph.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
Tune in to Opinionated Facts, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. on the RTF Sports Network. And we're back again every Sunday at 12 noon on Facebook Live.
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Only on the Opinionated Facts Facebook page, presented by TCP Network.
What's going on, everybody? Whether you're practicing social distancing of 6 feet up to 6 miles, you can still party with On and Off the Field, where you can listen to the best NFL and charity-based podcasts out there on the RTF Sports Network. You can follow them on Facebook or go to rtfsportsnetwork.com and check out the show Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Are you ready? I said, are you ready? You're rocking with the heavyweight champs of sports talk.
Don't act like you're not impressed.
Brandon Way and Brandon Rudolph.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
Tune in to Opinionated Facts, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. on the RTF Sports Network. And we're back again every Sunday at 12 noon on Facebook Live.
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Only on the Opinionated Facts Facebook page, presented by TCP Network.
The snow is melting and it's starting to warm.
Is this for the new commercial?
This is the new commercial. We're recording. Why is it you always cut me off?
Guys, calm down. Let's just start it over.
It's too late. We have to start our show, which is Twist, the weekend sports talk, where you can hear banter like this with sports and interviews. Hear us on the RTF Sports Network, Mondays at 8 Eastern. Also, like our page on RTF Sports Network and check us out at rtfsportsnetwork.com.
What's up, y'all? You know who it is. It's your boy Dylan from On and Off the Field with Durf and Dylan. So I'm just coming to let you know, on the RTF Sports Network, this show will now be live from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays. If you go to rtfsportsnetwork.com, you can listen to the show live from there and on our social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram. It's going to be an amazing show that is all about the fans. Also, when you go to rtfsportsnetwork.com, make sure to vote for On and Off the Field as the show of the month for April. If we win that, money is going to charity. You can count on that. What's going on, everybody? Whether you're practicing social distancing of 6 feet up to 6 miles, you can still party with On and Off the Field, where you can listen to the best NFL and charity-based podcasts out there on the RTF Sports Network. You can follow them on Facebook or go to rtfsportsnetwork.com and check out the show Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What's going on, everybody? Whether you're practicing social distancing of 6 feet up to 6 miles, you can still party with On and Off the Field, where you can listen to the best NFL and charity-based podcasts out there on the RTF Sports Network. You can follow them on Facebook or go to rtfsportsnetwork.com and check out the show Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And that was Sports Talk Mostly, the only girl sports show right here on rtfsportsnetwork.com radio network.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Are you ready? I said, are you ready? You're rocking with the heavyweight champs of sports talk.
Don't act like you're not impressed.
Brandon Way and Brandon Rudolph.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
Tune in to Opinionated Facts, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. on the RTF Sports Network. And we're back again every Sunday at 12 noon on Facebook Live.
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Only on the Opinionated Facts Facebook page, presented by TCP Network.
What's up, y'all? You know who it is. It's your boy Dylan from On and Off the Field with Durf and Dylan. So I'm just coming to let you know, on the RTF Sports Network, this show will now be live from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays. If you go to rtfsportsnetwork.com, you can listen to the show live from there and on our social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram. It's going to be an amazing show that is all about the fans. Also, when you go to rtfsportsnetwork.com, make sure to vote for On and Off the Field as the show of the month for April. If we win that, money is going to charity. You can count on that.
The snow is melting and it's starting to warm.
Is this for the new commercial?
This is the new commercial. We're recording. Why is it you always cut me off?
Guys, calm down. Let's just start it over.
It's too late. We have to start our show, which is Twist, the weekend sports talk, where you can hear banter like this with sports and interviews. Hear us on the RTF Sports Network, Mondays at 8 Eastern. Also, like our page on RTF Sports Network and check us out at rtfsportsnetwork.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Are you ready? I said, are you ready? You're rocking with the heavyweight champs of sports talk.
Don't act like you're not impressed.
Brandon Way and Brandon Rudolph.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
Tune in to Opinionated Facts, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. on the RTF Sports Network. And we're back again every Sunday at 12 noon on Facebook Live.
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Only on the Opinionated Facts Facebook page, presented by TCP Network.
And that was Sports Talk Mostly, the only girl sports show right here on RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network.
What's going on, everybody? Whether you're practicing social distancing of 6 feet up to 6 miles, you can still party with On and Off the Field, where you can listen to the best NFL and charity-based podcasts out there on the RTF Sports Network. You can follow them on Facebook or go to rtfsportsnetwork.com and check out the show Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And that was Twist, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for next show, next time, next week, Monday afternoon, 2 p.m., Twist, with your host, Mike Reeves. And that was Lakers Fast Break with your host, Gerald Glassford. Join them next week, same time, same place, rtfsportsnetwork.com, 3 p.m. East Coast time, Lakers Fast Break. And you just heard On the Daily with Cole Johnson. Stay tuned for more. Calling all fishermen, do you love to fish? Are you stuck inside? No, you're not, because join us right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network with Red Beard Bass. Coming up next.
What's going on, everybody? Whether you're practicing social distancing of 6 feet up to 6 miles, you can still party with On and Off the Field, where you can listen to the best NFL and charity-based podcasts out there on the RTF Sports Network. You can follow them on Facebook or go to rtfsportsnetwork.com and check out the show Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And that was To Be Blunt with your host, Peasy. Join them every Thursday, 6 p.m. live right here on the rtfsportsnetwork.com radio network. Thank you for tuning in for Kicking and Sticking Fantasy Football radio show right here on the rtfsportsnetwork.com radio network. Hopefully now you can win that fantasy league, win that week, and win that trophy. We don't want no tattoos. And that was your loyal BBN fan, guys, Michael Spencer. Join him every Thursday at 2 p.m. right here on the rtfsportsnetwork.com radio. Coming up next here on the rtfsportsnetwork.com radio network is Beyond the Arc with your host, Brian Snow. NBA talk for the next hour. Enjoy. And that was the Daily BS with your host, Brian Snow. Join him tomorrow, 4 p.m. East Coast time, right here on the RTF Sports Network page at rtfsportsnetwork.com. Coming up next here on the rtfsportsnetwork.com radio network is Beyond the Arc with your host, Brian Snow. NBA talk for the next hour. Enjoy. And that was the Daily BS with your host, Brian Snow. Join him tomorrow, 4 p.m. East Coast time, right here on the RTF Sports Network Network page at rtfsportsnetwork.com. Coming up next here at the 4 p.m. hour is Daily BS with your host, Brian Snow from Snowman in the Morning. Enjoy. And that was your loyal BBN fan, guys, Michael Spencer. Join him every Thursday at 2 p.m. right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio. And thank you for tuning in to those weekend golf guys. John Ashton, join them every Monday at 6 p.m. right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to RTFSportsNetwork.com here on the 8 o'clock hour. Coming at you right now, you have Cole Johnson and On the Daily. Enjoy. Coming up next, right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network, is The Chronicles with your host, Cal Miller Trey. Stay tuned. And thank you for tuning in to Nerd Thud Sports with your host, Corey. Join them every Monday at 7 p.m. East Coast time right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. Do you love New York sports? Do you love sports in general? Join Earl Marks coming up next with Below the Mic. And you just heard Just for Clicks with your host, Michael Buckheiser. That is me. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And join me tomorrow, same time, same place, RTFSportsNetwork.com, right here on the noon hour, East Coast time. Thank you guys for listening to Snowman in the Morning, right here at RTFSportsNetwork.com. Catch him again tomorrow at 9 a.m. East Coast time. Do you love paintball? Do you love the competition? Do you ever wonder what it's like to really play paintball? Join us right here at the top of the hour with Behind the Bunker. And thank you for tuning in to Nerd Thud Sports with your host, Corey. Join them every Monday at 7 p.m. East Coast time right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. And that was Sports Talk Mostly, the only girl sports show right here on RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. Do you love paintball? Do you love the competition? Do you ever wonder what it's like to really play paintball? Join us right here at the top of the hour with Behind the Bunker. And that was your host, Brian Snow, with Beyond the Arc, full hour of NBA talk. Now that you are ready to make those MMA bets, go place them right here on RTFSportsNetwork.com radio.
For the latest information, news, and analysis of the Los Angeles Lakers and the NBA, check out the Lakers Fast Break podcast every Tuesday night at 9, right here at RTFSportsNetwork.com.
Coming up next, right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network, is Monte and the Pharaoh, your place for Long Island's wrestling podcast. Stay tuned. Do you like to party? Do you like wrestling? Do you like current events? Of course you do. Join us next, right here at 6 p.m. with, To Be Blunt, with Peasy. And that was your host, Brian Snow, with Beyond the Arc, full hour of NBA talk. And you survived. Thank you guys for listening to the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. That was Technical Foul. Join them every Monday right here on the website at 9 p.m. East Coast time. Like the page, comment on the page, share this with some friends. Thank you for tuning in today. Join us tomorrow, 8 a.m., with Cole Johnson and On the Daily. Thank you guys for listening to Snowman in the Morning right here at RTFSportsNetwork.com. Catch him again tomorrow at 9 a.m. East Coast time. Coming up next, right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network, is The Chronicles with your host, Cal Miller Trey. Stay tuned. It's time for the talk of the hour. It's time to get those opinions with some facts. Opinionated Facts with your host, Brandon Way, coming at you guys right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Are you ready? I said, are you ready? You're rocking with the heavyweight champs of sports talk.
Don't act like you're not impressed.
Brandon Way and Brandon Rudolph.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
Tune in to Opinionated Facts, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. on the RTF Sports Network. And we're back again every Sunday at 12 noon on Facebook Live.
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Only on the Opinionated Facts Facebook page, presented by TCP Network.
Thank you guys for tuning in to Brandon Way's Opinionated Facts. Now that the opinions are facts, be sure to subscribe to the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio website. Scroll down to the bottom of the website, enter your email, and enter in some drawings. $500 gift card given away every month in the year 2020. Do you love boxing? Do you love UFC? Do you love fighting sports in general? Join us with MMA Fight Picks coming up next right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. Coming up next on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network is the March show of the month, NAN Sports, with your hosts, Nick and Nolan. Stay tuned. Looking for the first only girls show right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network? Stay tuned for sports talk mostly. And that was Twist, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for next show, next time, next week, Monday afternoon, 2 p.m., Twist, with your host, Mike Reeves. And that was Long Island's best wrestling podcast. Join Monty and the Pharaoh next time, right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. And thank you for tuning in to those weekend golf guys, John Ashton. Join them every Monday at 6 p.m. right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. And that was Lakers Fast Break with your host, Gerald Glassford. Join them next week, same time, same place, RTFSportsNetwork.com, 3 p.m. East Coast time. Lakers Fast Break.
What's going on, everybody? Whether you're practicing social distancing of 6 feet up to 6 miles, you can still party with On and Off the Field, where you can listen to the best NFL and charity-based podcasts out there on the RTF Sports Network. You can follow them on Facebook or go to rtfsportsnetwork.com and check out the show Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And that was Twist, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for next show, next time, next week, Monday afternoon, 2 p.m., Twist, with your host, Mike Reeves. And you just heard On the Daily with Cole Johnson. Stay tuned for more. It's time for the talk of the hour. It's time to get those opinions with some facts. Opinionated Facts with your host, Brandon Way, coming at you guys right now. Thank you guys for listening to Snowman in the Morning right here at RTFSportsNetwork.com. Catch him again tomorrow at 9 a.m. East Coast time.
For the latest information, news, and analysis of the Los Angeles Lakers and the NBA, check out the Lakers Fast Break podcast every Tuesday night at 9, right here at RTFSportsNetwork.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Are you ready? I said, are you ready? You're rocking with the heavyweight champs of sports talk.
Don't act like you're not impressed.
Brandon Way and Brandon Rudolph.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
Tune in to Opinionated Facts, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. on the RTF Sports Network. And we're back again every Sunday at 12 noon on Facebook Live.
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Only on the Opinionated Facts Facebook page, presented by TCP Network.
Tee him up, ref! Tee him up! Ref! Tee him up! Technical foul. Coming up next. Right here on RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. Coming up next here at the 4 p.m. hour is Daily BS with your host, Brian Snow from Snowman in the Morning. Enjoy. And thank you for tuning in to NAN Sports right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. Join them every Wednesday, 6 p.m. East Coast time, right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com. Do you love UK sports? Michael Spencer sure does, and that is the host of the Loyal BBN Fan. Coming up next, right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. Coming up next here on the 6 p.m. hour is Those Weekend Golf Guys with your host, John Ashton. Is your golf game just a little bit off? Do you need to fine-tune your golf game? Listen to these guys right here. For the next hour, John Ashton will tell you how to improve your golf game overnight.
For the latest information, news, and analysis of the Los Angeles Lakers and the NBA, check out the Lakers Fast Break podcast every Tuesday night at 9, right here at rtfsportsnetwork.com.
Thank you for tuning into Behind the Bunker. Hopefully you guys have gained some knowledge and are able and willing and just eager to try some paintball out moving forward. Thank you for tuning into the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. Join us next time on the Behind the Bunker every Tuesday at 7 p.m. East Coast time. Are you guys ready for the talk of the show, the talk of the network here at RTFSportsNetwork.com? Coming at you right now is Snowman in the Morning. Do you love boxing? Do you love UFC? Do you love fighting sports in general? Join us with MMA Fight Picks coming up next right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. Tee him up, ref! Tee him up! Ref! Tee him up! Technical foul. Coming up next, right here on RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network.
What's up, y'all? You know who it is. It's your boy Dylan from On and Off the Field with Durf and Dylan. So I'm just coming to let you know, on the RTF Sports Network, this show will now be live from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays. If you go to rtfsportsnetwork.com, you can listen to the show live from there and on our social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram. It's going to be an amazing show that is all about the fans. Also, when you go to rtfsportsnetwork.com, make sure to vote for On and Off the Field as the show of the month for April. If we win that, money is going to charity. You can count on that.
And that was Long Island's best wrestling podcast. Join Monty and the Pharaoh next time, right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. And that was Below the Mic with your host, Earl Marks, coming from you straight from New York. Join them every Friday, 2 p.m. East Coast time, right here on RTFSportsNetwork.com. And thank you for tuning in to NAN Sports right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. Join them every Wednesday, 6 p.m. East Coast time, right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com. RTFSportsNetwork.com. And you just heard On the Daily with Cole Johnson. Stay tuned for more. And you just heard Just for Clicks with your host, Michael Buckheiser. That is me. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And join me tomorrow, same time, same place, RTFSportsNetwork.com, right here on the noon hour, East Coast time.
For the latest information, news, and analysis of the Los Angeles Lakers and the NBA, check out the Lakers Fast Break podcast every Tuesday night at 9, right here at RTFSportsNetwork.com.
Are you looking for a veteran-based sports podcast? Tune in right now at the top of the hour, 8 p.m. to Hares and the Doggy Show. Join us. It's going to be great, guys. And that was the Daily BS with your host, Brian Snow. Join him tomorrow, 4 p.m. East Coast time, right here on the RTF Sports Network page at RTFSportsNetwork.com. Tee him up, ref! Tee him up! Ref! Tee him up! Technical foul. Coming up next. Right here on RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to RTFSportsNetwork.com here on the 8 o'clock hour. Coming at you right now, you have Cole Johnson and On the Daily. Enjoy. Calling all fishermen. Calling all fishermen. Do you love to fish? Are you stuck inside? No, you're not. Because join us right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network with Red Beard Bass. Coming up next. Coming up next here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network is Beyond the Arc with your host, Brian Snow. NBA talk for the next hour. Enjoy. Thank you for tuning in for Kicking and Sticking Fantasy Football radio show right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. Hopefully now you can win that fantasy league, win that week, and win that trophy. We don't want no tattoos. And thank you for listening to Down to the Wire with your host, Earl Marks. Join them every Tuesday and Wednesday at 2 p.m. East Coast time right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. Are you guys ready for the talk of the show, the talk of the network here at RTFSportsNetwork.com? Coming at you right now is Snowman in the Morning. Do you like sports interviews with a little bit of twist, with a little bit of rawness, with a little bit of untouched talent? Join us next on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network with Cyber Timebase. And that was Sports Talk Mostly, the only girl sports show right here on RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. Coming up next, right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network is The Chronicles with your host, Cal Miller Trey. Stay tuned. And you survived. Thank you guys for listening to the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. That was Technical Foul. Join them every Monday right here on the website at 9 p.m. East Coast time. Like the page, comment on the page, share this with some friends. Thank you for tuning in today. Join us tomorrow, 8 a.m. with Cole Johnson and On the Daily. It's time for the talk of the hour. It's time to get those opinions with some facts. Opinionated facts with your host, Brandon Way, coming at you guys right now. Thank you for tuning into Behind the Bunker. Hopefully you guys have gained some knowledge and are able and willing and just eager to try some paintball out moving forward. Thank you for tuning into the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. Join us next time on the Behind the Bunker every Tuesday at 7 p.m. East Coast time. Do you love boxing? Do you love UFC? Do you love fighting sports in general. Join us with MMA fight picks coming up next right here on the RTF Sports Network.com radio network.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Are you ready? I said, are you ready? You're rocking with the heavyweight champs of sports talk.
Don't act like you're not impressed.
Brandon Way and Brandon Rudolph.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
Tune in to Opinionated Facts, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. on the RTF Sports Network. And we're back again every Sunday at 12 noon on Facebook Live.
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Only on the Opinionated Facts Facebook page, presented by TCP Network.
And that was On and Off the Field with your host, Dylan Moran. Join them every Thursday, 3 p.m. East Coast time, right here on the RTF Sports Network. If you missed today's show, join them at 7:30 p.m. East Coast time for On and Off the Field live right here on the RTF Sports Network.com radio network or on the RTF Sports Network Facebook page. And thank you for tuning in to Nerd Thud Sports with your host, Corey. Join them every Monday at 7 p.m. East Coast time right here on the RTF Sports Network.com radio network. And that was the Daily BS with your host, Brian Snow. Join him tomorrow, 4 p.m. East Coast time right here on the RTF Sports Network page at rtfsportsnetwork.com. Do you love UK sports? Michael Spencer sure does, and that is the host of the Loyal BBN Fan. Coming up next, right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. And that was Lakers Fast Break with your host, Gerald Glassford. Join them next week, same time, same place, RTFSportsNetwork.com, 3 p.m. East Coast time. Lakers Fast Break.
The snow is melting and it's starting to warm.
Is this for the new commercial?
This is the new commercial. We're recording. Why is it you always cut me off?
Guys, calm down. Let's just start it over.
It's too late. We have to start our show, which is Twist, the weekend sports talk, where you can hear banter like this with sports and interviews. Hear us on the RTF Sports Network, Mondays at 8 Eastern. Also, like our page on RTF Sports Network and check us out at rtfsportsnetwork.com.
And thank you for tuning in to NAN Sports right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. Join them every Wednesday, 6 p.m. East Coast time, right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com. And thank you for tuning in to Nerd Thud Sports with your host, Corey. Join them every Monday at 7 p.m. East Coast time, right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. Calling all fishermen, do you love to fish? Are you stuck inside? No, you're not, because join us right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network with Red Beard Bass. Coming up next.
What's up, y'all? You know who it is. It's your boy Dylan from On and Off the Field with Durf and Dylan. So I'm just coming to let you know, on the RTF Sports Network, this show will now be live from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays. If you go to rtfsportsnetwork.com, you can listen to the show live from there and on our social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram. It's going to be an amazing show that is all about the fans. Also, when you go to rtfsportsnetwork.com, make sure to vote for On and Off the Field as the show of the month for April. If we win that, money is going to charity. You can count on that.
Are you guys ready for the talk of the show, the talk of the network here at RTFSportsNetwork.com? Coming at you right now is Snowman in the Morning. Looking for the first only girls show right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network? Stay tuned for sports talk mostly. And thank you for listening to Down to the Wire with your host, Earl Marks. Join them every Tuesday and Wednesday at 2 p.m. East Coast time right here on the RTFSportsNetwork.com radio network. And that was Long Island's